I got that intro off a little early. Oh man, it's that was crazy. That was crazy. Welcome,
Hey
guys.
everyone.
Welcome, guys. That was the most smooth intro I've ever seen.
Nick's face alone was worth it.
Welcome, everybody. This is episode 13 of Spoiler Alerts. I'm ChanManV, and he's Ello. He's Diction.
Hi.
And we've got a returning guest, our only guest we've ever had on the show. Bikeman returns to talk about our topic today. Hi.
And he's wearing the same thing he wore last time. He's on that
The gas mask.
tricycle.
The gas mask
No
on the
shirt,
tricycle.
bicycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. You look very defined, though. You look very good.
I was glued here.
I was glued.
Send police.
Who did it to you? Was it Diction? Tell me if it was Diction.
That
Be
was
honest with me.
Diction.
I'm not allowed to buy glue anymore
I'm not allowed to
Because
buy.
because I kept gluing people to their bicycles.
You're like the worst supervillain ever. You're like, yes,
Oh man.
I find time to glue
Get
my
behind
enemies.
people. I feel like the only way you can get away with that is if the person's like asleep on the bicycle, you know? Like, as soon as they start feeling someone touching their ass, they're just like, wait a second.
Really, the only person
Stop this
you'll
bike
get,
now, or I'm
like-
riding away.
the only person you'll get with this is Bikeman, and then like maybe the dude that won the Tour de France. What's his name?
Lance Armstrong.
Yeah, Lance Armstrong. Like your Lance Armstrong's like villain, like your nemesis.
Oh my god.
Oh,
All right, guys.
No wonder he got cancer in his testicles. He
Oh
kept gluing them bitches. It's probably had to do with all the chemicals. Okay, this has gone too
Oh
far.
yeah, exactly.
it
Let's
went
get
too
back.
far, sir.
Oh man. All right,
the
guys.
line.
Well, we're back, and just the disclaimer, as always, if you guys don't want to be spoiled or have Westworld season 1 spoiled at all, or you haven't watched Westworld, go ahead and just mute your audio right now, because we will just be talking
Viewing
about
for the ad
everything.
buys.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But we'll be spoiling Westworld today, guys. Really excited about getting a chance to talk about it, and especially having Bikeman on. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do. It's gonna be all 10 episodes. How should we start this, guys? Just I mean, maybe getting general thoughts on how you feel about the series, and then we'll dive into the specifics. Sound good?
Yeah, we were talking, like, for everybody who's watching, we were talking right before the show. We're like, how are we going to get into this conversation? Because there really is so much to talk about. It's a
We
lot
should
in
really
one
start
season.
with the old movie. Maybe
Yeah,
even
I've
the short story that Michael Crichton did.
Yeah, I didn't actually see. I haven't seen the back, so I don't know.
You guys are not fucking prepared this much. I'm professional shit. What am I working with?
Oh shit, man!
Listen,
That's why we
tell
have you
us-
here, Bikeman.
I'm going to my trailer.
Ah, slam door. I don't
Tell
have
us
a
the-
door on my trailer, so I have to say slam door.
Oh, one thing I forgot to tell you guys. If you guys want to join our discussion at the end of the show, or maybe sometime in between, go ahead and join this voice channel on Discord, because that's where we're going to be taking callers from. And I know we're going to have a lot of folks that are going to have their own input into the discussion. So go to this link. I'm linking it in the chat right now. And Monkey will be there to just get you guys ready, get you guys set up to join our call whenever it's time. All right. Continue where we were.
Okay, hold on a second. I've got to pop up the chat now because I totally forgot to do that. So Bikeman, so you've seen the old one, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Old
so-
Brenner.
So tell us about the old one then. Give us a little insight into the old.
It was way more like, it felt like a pre-Jurassic Park kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Michael Crichton likes to write about amusement parks that crumble and go horribly awry. And so the movie basically just followed, they were like kind of like really, really convincing animatronics in his old movie. And of course they were played by actors. And then through glitches in the programming, they run amok and kill everyone, but they're never sort of aware that they're gonna like have an uprising or anything like that. They just like kill all humans.
It's very Jurassic Park-ish then, right?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So
Interesting.
they don't. It doesn't get into like the.
It doesn't get into the existentials as deeply.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, it's just more big and more.
It's more of a
straightforward.
surface level.
Yeah.
Right.
Kill humans.
When did that movie come out?
God, I think it was like the 70s or
Yeah, that's what I'm
60s.
saying.
Okay.
70s.
Yeah. So back then, that was probably very innovative and revolutionary, right? Okay. Cool. Anybody read this?
So-
Did you read the short story too, Bikeman? Or
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh, Mister, I'm prepared.
Yeah.
Wow,
my God.
Doesn't even read the
You're
short
off the
story.
show, dude. You all of a sudden.
I was just still sad about Michael Crichton's passing years ago that I couldn't like get teary-eyed.
An homage to him is to not read the short story before.
Ah.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so you know what? Let's like really jump in. Let's just jump into the deep end. Okay, like let's just start with the hardest question and work backwards. That's what we're going to do.
Okay.
So
What
I
would
typically
Jesus do?
Yeah,
What would
what would
Jesus
Jesus do? God. That's the one thing is like they haven't really mentioned religion much in this, and I'm like, thank God, this could get real crazy.
There's a whole lot of churches though for not
There
being
are
in
a lot.
religion.
There's a main church there.
Ah.
Symbolic.
Yeah.
Churchy.
Buried. So I always do this little spiel whenever. Okay, so I'll be running around GTA 5, right, or playing Watch Dogs, and a dog will pop up, and I'll shoot the dog, right? Like I always shoot the dog. Right next to the dog in my car. Yeah, okay, I'm a monster.
Steven
all right?
Spielberg. Jesus.
Okay,
Pet alert.
but here's the thing is that some people get mad, like they legit get mad. They're like, how could you do that to that pixelated dog? And I always make the point that, you know, people who kill things in virtual reality don't upset me. It's the people who don't know the difference that upset me. Like that you don't know the difference between, you know, what's a real dog and what's a fake dog. Okay, but now we're given Westworld, and now it's like it's almost video game extreme, right? It's the most realistic, right? Because it is in our, you know, world, and these hosts are as human as possible, basically. But at the end of the day, I mean, some people believe they're still toasters. So these people go in there and they obviously have their, you know, their fun, either, you know, fucking or killing or whatever they want to do to these hosts, basically. So here's the question I present to you guys. Is it right? Is it right?
Yes.
Is it right or wrong to go into Westworld and be whatever you want to be? Is that wrong?
I feel like it's wrong in the sense of the fact that like the hosts are aware of their own mortality. They're not aware of their consciousness in the beginning, but they're definitely aware when they're about to die. They know they're going to die, you know, or they feel like they're about to die. So going in there and just shooting and killing amok, I feel like that's not, considering that the AI like understands what's about to happen to them.
I'd feel incredibly guilty.
Fucked up. I'd feel guilty about that. Same with like rape and everything. Like that's just that I wouldn't be okay with that. But if it was like I go in there and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go to a saloon and get into a bar brawl, you know, like something a little like scrappy and like basically harmless. That's a different story. I'd be like okay with that.
Well, we're
I'd be like
talking
more like Billy at the beginning of his journey, where like it's okay to go in there and maybe, you know, fuck a prostitute if I wasn't like engaged or something, and you know, like get drunk and.
So,
What if my dream is to go to Westworld? What if my dream is to go to Westworld and my fantasy is to be a host that gains consciousness?
Hey, you can do anything in Westworld. That's why it was created.
Yeah,
Well, okay, so let me ask you. So okay, the follow-up question: if you had a fiance, would it be cheating?
I mean, it wouldn't be cheating. It would be cheating in the sense of like fucking a fleshlight would be cheating. I guess.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like if she has a dildo, I mean, what's the difference between?
But
no, but there's a big difference. Yeah, come on.
I-
This is okay. This is all right.
I've had a few conversations with females and a girlfriend about facsimile females, and there's a really touchy subject with them when they start getting realistic.
Facsimile females. No, I mean, come on. There's a big difference between a freaking dildo or a flashlight. And
Is there?
There, yeah, of course there.
I mean, you can't fall in love with the fleshlight, but you definitely can fall in love with
That's not true. That's not true. There are people who have fallen in love with fleshlights. There's people who have fallen in love with sex dolls.
Okay,
and then
yeah,
so that makes it wrong.
That's
too.
like a
That
mental
makes it wrong
disorder.
too, then.
That's like
it doesn't. Even if they do, even if they fall in love with a flashlight, I still think that because of that kind of attachment to it, or emotional attachment to it, then it's wrong. I mean, that's kind of how I look at it. And when you have something that's even closer to being a human, I mean, as close as you get to actually being a living organism.
Are you calling it a flashlight?
That's
The
a
flashlight.
DJ
Oh,
Knight
flashlight.
said-
I was
Did
calling
you hear DJ Knight say-
flashlight.
Yeah, I saw
Flashlight. Not flashlight. Not flashlight.
Hey,
A
man,
flashlight.
Do you know what a flashlight is? Do you know what a flashlight is?
We need to Google. We can bring up Google.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
God.
see ChanManV in a room alone with a flashlight. Like, I don't get
Exactly.
it.
No.
Like I don't get it. He's like turning it on and
How am I supposed to fuck this?
Exactly.
There's
Let's take
glass in the
do-
way, man. That's
There
gonna
are
hurt.
batteries in the way. What
Oh,
the
take
fuck?
out the batteries.
Oh my god.
Ow,
right,
it
hold
kind
on.
of stings.
Oh, it's kind of sharp
It's-
edges.
It's shocking
Right,
me.
hold on,
It's
man.
this electro sensation.
but
It's
okay.
feeling good.
So
I don't
here's
think
the
I can
argument.
link this in chat, but I found a flashlight that's a predator face.
Oh,
Oh my god.
you may link that in chat.
Okay, all right, all right.
Done.
And then the
Oh,
power
man.
grid goes off and everyone's fucked because you had sex with the only flashlight.
Okay, so let's talk about the other side of this argument. So you guys are pretty much, and I'm playing devil's avocado right
Well,
now.
actually, we haven't even gotten our
But-
opinions on it yet.
I know.
Let's
Well,
get our
oh,
opinions officially.
Oh,
on it
okay,
yet.
okay.
Yeah.
I thought you guys were saying it was wrong. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I know addiction thing.
I'm saying it's a
Kinda.
fucking rocky subject. Like there's parts of it that are okay and parts of it that are extra not okay. You know, like.
Well, I mean, getting into a
it's
fight.
It's not a black and white scenario. That's what makes the show so good. Like it's all gray area. Like the whole fucking thing is gray area.
Well, I mean, your point about just getting into a bar fight. I mean, that's fine even in real life. You know, like if you get into
Or
a
if
fight,
like
it's-
a host
that's-
challenges me to a duel, then I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, fuck it. I'm in the old west. We'll duel.
Right.
That's different. Like that's
Right.
playing along with the narrative. But if I was just
Sure,
going there
sure.
like the man in black and just start raping and killing left and right for no fucking reason, I've got a problem. I'm a
Yeah.
psychopath in a sense, you know, like.
Well, how would you?
Because
Okay,
the-
how would we equivocate a duel in today's? Is it self-defense? What is it like?
A duel is okay.
like
how about
how do
this?
we classify
I
that?
got. I will classify for you so
Okay.
perfectly. There is in Seattle. There is a mutual combat law, which means that if you, I'm not even joking, that
Wow.
if you get, let's say you go to a bar and you get drunk and your buddy gets drunk and a bunch of people get drunk and somebody slaps your girlfriend's ass and you don't want that guy to do so, you can challenge him and you guys can step out on the street, and if he accepts it, you guys can have a fight and the cops will be there and they will not arrest you. They will encourage you. They will encourage you
Oh,
not
shit.
to fight. They
This
will
is
encourage you
hockey.
not to fight. But if you guys both agree to mutual combat, you guys are allowed to do so to a certain point. You know, obviously we're not going to let somebody beat the shit out of somebody to death, you know, but they will let you fight. And there's actually a UFC fighter that dresses up as a superhero and patrols the streets of Seattle. And
Who?
that's these. What's his name? I'll look it up in a
I
second.
mean,
But
I didn't know
basically-
that. I follow you.
Yeah.
Too. Wow. Okay.
But basically, that's probably the closest thing we have to a duel, or you know, your typical UFC fight or something like that. But here's the thing: the difference is, I think, is the intent is that you have been insulted or that you have had some wrongdoing towards you, and so you want to have even terms on that physically. You know, like
Yeah.
that's I
Sure.
think,
Sure.
is that there's ill will there. You know, like I think the difference between just having like a UFC fight or a boxing match or something like that is they're not always
Okay.
ill will. So.
So what we're getting at, it is closer to
anyways.
being okay. It is closer, like even in today's society, it's closer to being okay with just having a duel like that. So
Yes, it does happen in the United States in certain cities.
Yeah.
But Seattle is definitely one of them. His name's Phoenix something. Phoenix
okay.
something. Whatever.
So Diction,
Anyways,
you're pretty much saying it's pretty close to real life, like what you do here and what you do in there are pretty
Yeah, when
pretty
it comes
parallel.
to like the really harsh shit, like
Yeah.
that's bordering on a line that I wouldn't cross.
I'm right there too. Basically, I think if you're being just a psycho killer and rapist or whatnot in the world itself, it's not all right.
Yeah,
How
because
about
like,
you,
what's to
Bikeman?
stop you from what happens when your trip is over? You can't afford to go back to Westworld. Like, say you're not the man in black, like you own the company, like you go there and you fucking find this part of yourself that you didn't know was there, and then you're done. You go back home, but that thing is still inside you. Like, what happens then?
well, that's like the entire show.
Yeah.
Like that is what we watched, right? Like, and that's kind of where my point was headed, was that they say it over and over and over again that Westworld is a place where you'll find your true self. You'll
Right.
find out who you really are. And so in the process of that, now, while William's process from William to Man in Black was a slow one over a long period of time, his true nature was always there, correct? Like, that was who he was. He just hadn't explored that side of him yet. Now, Diction, you're right. If he hadn't explored that side of him, sure, he might not have found out that he really is a sadistic killer and he doesn't have any feelings towards those he murders. But he might have lived his life as a coward and as a underfoot figure also,
Yeah.
So what the thing I'm presenting, the idea I'm presenting is that because Westworld is set up as a place to find out who you are, that I would feel encouraged going in there to maybe do some crazy shit, just to see what it's like,
Yeah, kind of like him. You're right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, I don't, and here's the difference is, like you said, oh no, rape, everything. As soon as you said rape, I said, okay, that's something I couldn't do. Right in my head, I'm saying that's something I could not do, and that's because that's me, right? So when if I'm presented with that in Westworld, I don't think I could follow through with it, whether it was, these people were real or not real, Now at the same time, I want to tell my brain, this is no different than a fleshlight, really, or, whatever. But it's just, I think that there is an innate, there's innate morals and things that you have, whether it's, genetic or upbringing, society, environment, whatever, that will keep you from going past where you're able to, and I think that's the whole thing, is that William started out as this romantic, right? He was this romantic, this lover, this quiet man, and that by the end of it, he was just this killer, man, because he did for where rape would stop me, he thought murder would stop him, but then he murdered somebody and then he said, oh, I like this.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where the progression comes. So I see your warning, but is it wrong to explore that side of him? I mean, he found his true self. That is his true self. And he knows that now because of Westworld. And a lot of people will do that. And you'll hear him talking about little things they did. Like one guy at the beginning episode says, oh, I came here with the kids and we went down fishing and it was great. He's like, then I came back alone, went full evil. He says that like in the first, and he tried to check it out, he tried to do it. But, his full evil didn't get to where Man in Black is. His full evil stopped at a certain point. He didn't feel like he needed to buy the company and keep going and, all this shit. So at the end of the day, while it may not be right or wrong, I think that that Westworld is a good indicator of telling you if you are a good or bad person. Well, you might not like the answer.
Well, what's interesting about William, and it was, part of the explanation he was giving, right, with what you were just talking about, how he was trying to figure out, what kind of person he was, and that whole scene with the mom and the daughter, right, and how he goes and kills her and sees how he feels about it, is that, he goes on and talks about how, he goes back to his old life and he still lives out a very, lawful life, right? He ends up being successful business-wise. He's still in his marriage. He has kids, but he does mention that his wife could still see that evil in him or whatnot. But it's clear he never acted out on it, though, like in real life. So it was still only in Westworld that he could contain that true self or whatnot. So still civilized. Like, I'm not, from that standpoint, that's really interesting too. It's like a lot of people might discover themselves, but still have to hold that in, like in real life. Like, why didn't he become a serial killer just in real life?
Well, I think that it's because a lot of us are great pretenders. Like a lot of us have an outward, person that we project to people. And while it may be close to who we are, I think that our significant others and our family know us better, and know the things about us that make us tick. So it makes sense that his wife would know that even though he was, there and doing and saying all the right things and whatever, that underneath all that, his wife knows he's a cold man. And that's why she kills herself. And that's why the daughter, when he asks his daughter why she did it, she says, because of you. And she knows too, like she knows what kind of man this guy is. And there's only so much that you can hide from people, especially when you let people get in close like that. And for him, he already had a woman that was close to him before he went in. So she must have seen the change in him too, you know, going in and then coming back out. Imagine the sweetest, most romantic man, and then he comes back and, you know, he comes back the man in black, basically. Like, what a change. Like, you would end up hating Westworld, right? You would end up hating everything it stood for. And then he wanted to buy the company and all that stuff. I'm surprised she even stayed with him. But
yeah,
it's yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, let's come back to basically to it. I mean, I think we haven't gotten. So, Bikeman, what do you think? I mean, do you think is it right or wrong to kill people and rape people or whatnot in Westworld, and of course not do it in real life, but do it in Westworld?
I wouldn't be able to look past the realism of the hosts. Probably not. I couldn't do it. Like, I don't know, what was it, Adam? You said in your head, you know, it's kind of almost equivalent to a fleshlight, but like I don't know, they never come out with like fleshlight rape edition has 5 distinct phrases. Please, no, stop.
Yeah, yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's, I mean, that's pretty much where I fall into it as well. Like, there's just certain things that you wouldn't do, but like kill a host in cold blood. Yeah, I think I could do that.
I could probably shoot one of the evil hosts that's like a bandit host.
Yeah, like bandits. That's
because of the storyline,
you know.
True.
Yeah. But would you be able to shoot just a random dude walking down the street, like a host?
Because he's got a robot life.
No, man. I can see myself going. I can see myself going that far. Like, if there's just some random dude, not a woman. I don't think I could do a woman or a child. But like, if it was just some random dude walking down the street, and if I was there in Westworld, I think I could find it in myself to pull my gun out and just shoot it, because I know he's a host and I know it doesn't really matter.
I mean, there are definitely levels of this, because, you know, I think a lot of folks that are, let's just say they're level 1, okay? They're not like William, who's like level 1,000, all right? But let's say the folks that are coming in level 1, I mean, that is more analogous to playing like G2, you know, like G2A or something, right? Like that. You know, it's just GTA or whatever. My brain is just like weird today. But you know, like going into it and it's, you know, just like shooting random folks. You know, it does feel like a game. It is a game at that point. But when you get to the point where you know you know exactly what these robots are. Like, if you knew exactly what was going on with Arnold and you knew what was going on with Robert and everything, would that change basically how even just shooting a random person walking down the street, or one of these random, you know, hosts walking down the street, that changes it for me? Because if they're super close to being, you know, these sentient robots or whatnot, it's different for me, versus just like literally a video game where I just like, oh yeah, I just shoot something random just to do it, and it's a game, you know, it's no big deal. It's just, let's just have some fun kind of thing, you know, and see what happens next when I do this, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is you know, who knows what happens when I shoot that person, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I shoot that person and then blood hits me in the face and I can feel the warmth of it and I can taste the copper, you know, and like this becomes a totally different experience than a typical video game, right? You know, and maybe the realism of that would make me go, I never want to do that again. You know, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't ever want to shoot a host or a person, because that's just not fun. I don't like blood being splattered all over my face or seeing guts or brains or whatever, you know. But I mean, who knows? You know, if your buddies are there and you all go, it's like a bachelor party and you're all drinking and you shoot, you're like, wow, shit, that guy just shot that. You know, it's like what I'm trying to make. I think context matters too. Like, if you're going with, like, if I was going with, you know, Cora and Juniper, my trip would be insanely different than if I went with a bunch of my buddies for a bachelor party, you know? So I think that it's weird, but I think the context and the mindset you walk in with decides a lot as well. Now, you did have William, who went in with the mindset, was very reluctant, very, you know, pure, very like against everything. And he was changed as time went on, you know, so I think that does happen. But I do think that, you know, context has a lot to do with it too. But what did you guys think about the spoil or the secret that William was the man in black? Like, did you not see that coming? Did you Did you see it come in? What like yeah?
I didn't
I
see
didn't
it
see
coming.
it coming, but I wasn't. It didn't like shock me, but it was like a really cool moment. It was like, oh shit, because like it was really like the thing that I hated about the show, and it was not the show's fault, was that fucking clickbait bullshit websites like IGN and Kotaku and all those assholes would just put up fucking their beginning log line, like people have theories about a separate timeline on Westworld, and that's the title of their articles. It's like, well, I could have ignored that, but you just put in your
Exactly.
fucking title.
Yeah.
So like when that happened and it revealed that there were two different timelines.
They've always
going
been
on,
wicked
I was like,
assholes about that stuff.
yeah, it's like that's like a form of spoiling that's just like now instead of being actual spoilers, now they like try to subvert spoilers.
Yeah, they see.
On a show
They
we're
see
called
thoughts.
Spoiler Alert,
They
where we're
see-
being honest with you. It's spoiling it. We're going to spoil it for you. You know by the title that you will get this spoiled for you.
Yeah,
That's different, but they're like
that's
that
so
kind of
true.
ruined the experience for me in a little bit. Like not enough where I like didn't like it, but just like when that happened, and I was like, oh well, I kind of knew this was gonna happen thanks to fucking IGN and their cunt articles.
That's-
I'm sorry, it just
That's-
pisses me off.
that's-
dude.
No, 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 I
that's
totally-
like that's
hate
what
them so much, man.
that's why that's what. Oh, I mean that really sucks, and that's why I'm really happy that I was able to avoid any kind of Westworld spoilers before this week, like and be able to watch it just purely, 10 episodes straight.
I thought the Bernard reveal was better.
Yeah, Bernard reveal was definitely better.
I knew someone was going to be like in the employee was going to be.
Oh, really?
unknowingly, but I didn't know it was going to be him.
Yeah, that one got me really good. The William one was good for me because I just didn't really love the Dolores storyline until that moment. I think once that reveal happened with William, then the Dolores storyline like really interested me again. And obviously it rounded out the rest of the series, or maybe an episode or two after that. But before that, I was just like, God, man, I'm just tired of seeing this. This Dolores storyline is taking forever. I know she's important. But man, this is drawn. Like I literally don't care about this right now. I'd rather check out what's going on with Bernard and all those guys than have to show me once again that she's trying to find herself.
She was just kind of like
it's
she was generic.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, isn't she supposed to be? She's the very first host. Like,
It doesn't fix it.
She's the most important host at the same
Like
time.
the storyline was way more interesting.
I agree with you guys.
She was the fucking Daenerys.
She was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
What?
Wait, Hussey, are we saying that we're bored by Dolores, or are we saying that she's awesome? Because I was
like
bored
Dolores.
I was bored by Dolores.
I was bored by
I was
Dolores
bored.
until the last
First,
3
but
episodes.
I was fascinated with her story. I was fascinated with her progression. Like it wasn't as extreme as Thandie Newton's character because she like fucking wakes up
Yeah.
in the butcher shop and starts like basically taking super control over everyone's lives there.
I think that-
Also, theory that those two dudes are totally hosts. By the way, that's a theory I have.
Wait, what to do?
Especially the Asian dude. He's definitely a host. He has
I
to
mean,
be a
come
host.
on. How can
How would he
somebody be
let her
so weak?
control him so
How can somebody
easily?
be so stupid, right? I mean, and
But,
just allow that to happen.
I think that Dolores's storyline should have been not slowly realizing that she was, going to be self-aware, but slowly realizing that she's boring.
which is a greater sin than anything the Man in Black has done. So let's ask the next question then. Are they sentient? Are they truly sentient? Now, I there's some evidence to show that they aren't still sentient, that they still don't have necessarily a consciousness. They are still just programmed. Now, again, this would go against what Arnold was preaching, what Arnold was hoping for, and all that good stuff. But it says, in Maeve, I believe it's Maeve, she decides to escape and she wants to get out of there and everything. Like but
that was
programmer
programmed,
guy
right.
tells him like somebody tampered with your stuff. Like this is, I think it was Bernard even. I think it was Bernard who did it actually.
Yeah, Bernard was saying
also
that
like-
new narrative, right? Like
Yeah,
escaping.
like this is somebody tampered with your thing. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing because somebody set you up to do this. Now, before we ask who that person might be, do you guys think that they actually have consciousness or not?
Well, I mean, the last part, right, with Dolores was essentially hinting at that, or maybe even being very explicit about that, where
I mean, when in the end
She's
of the
talking
first
to herself.
episode, when she felt the fly on her neck, that was like the spark of consciousness. Because before that, they didn't like little touchy feely things like that. They couldn't feel them.
Yeah, like the reveries. The reverie, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
The reveries that
No, well, yeah, that's the reveries unlocked that because it was technically a virus. I want to say like it broke a lot of things inside them, and that was one of them was their ability to feel like small brushes against their skin.
See, I still think that there's a place for the theory that Ford just orchestrated all of this. Like it's not necessarily consciousness or real true soul or being. What we're talking about is a man who had sort of a god complex and wanted his children to sort of be real and take over the world.
Okay, so
right? So I'm just saying there's a place for this. There's nothing there saying yet that they actually.
Well, that was the last scene with Dolores, though. I mean, maybe I'm misinterpreting this,
but he set himself up. He knew he was going to be killed.
No. Not that scene. The scene, the scene that's like underneath the church. She goes through that whole cycle of seeing, Bernard's, kind of seeing Arnold, seeing Bernard, but then the end result is her seeing herself. So I thought that in that moment she reached consciousness. This is the whole puzzle thing, right? Like the puzzle is within themselves, right? And she sees herself at the end. So she's been following essentially her own voice, which is consciousness. I think that's what I thought the conclusion was there, unless I misinterpreted that. Is that what you guys got
what I'm saying
is that, or no?
But what I'm saying is that Ford could have orchestrated all of that. Ford could have programmed all of that. There is still the chance.
Yeah, when Mae was leaving, didn't he say that like he had like written her narrative or something?
He did. So Mae's narrative definitely. Like I think Dolores is the only person.
Wrote her escaping.
Yeah. So Mae's narrative.
Like, I don't want to know about it. She said.
Yeah. So with Mae, I think it's definitely unclear with Mae. But with Dolores, she's the special one. I think she is the only one that's reached consciousness, in my opinion. Not the rest of them.
I see no proof yet until like it's hands off for a while. Like when she leaves, doesn't Mae leave the facility at the end or whatever?
No, she comes back.
No, she comes back. Because she can't.
I must have looked away at that part. Fucking god damn it, that sucks. All right, yeah.
She still can't leave. I mean, that's the thing. Like Mae still has a lot of the parameters in place. So I don't think she's reached any level that like Dolores has. I think the reason she can't leave, I think, is a programmed thing. They still can't leave this entire world, and that extends to the train.
But it's even more complicated because when she goes to leave, that's exactly what she thinks her programming wants her to do. And to go back for a child that she knows isn't hers, but still has an emotional connection to, almost proves that she does have consciousness, because she's going against her programming.
Right.
So you see what I'm saying? Like it's so convoluted that I think that both theories can exist right now with what we've been presented.
Season 2, baby.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like season 2. I don't think yet that we've been shown enough to show that these creations have taken on sentience. Like they are really conscious. They know. I don't think we've seen that much yet. Now that's what we would be led to believe, but we're not even sure that that Ford's fucking dead. Like, I'm sure Ford could make a host of himself, and take the bullet, like
I guess that's true.
There's a lot because of the way they've set it up. There's so many different directions it can go, and that's why it's so interesting. This is the point I'm trying to make, is that this show is good because it gets you thinking. It's not different from the Black Mirror episodes, right? Like it gets you thinking on a deeper level. There's different ways to go. This is what people loved about Lost, like the theory crafting and the openness of it. That there's a lot to kind of cover.
Polar bear, man, it was like all bets are off.
Yeah,
that was like episode 4 or something. This fucking polar bear on this tropical island. It's like, okay, well this show's fucked. There's anything can happen now.
And that's what was interesting about it, because and anything did happen.
Well, that was what was wrong with the show too.
It was an interesting explanation.
Yeah.
It's magic. Everything
exactly.
that's
You always got magic. Exactly.
Magic.
God
The
damn it.
island is magic. That's all you gotta know. Island.
Yeah.
But anyways, so back to this. This is why one of the main reasons that I think the show is a very good show. You know, we haven't really talked about whether or not we like the show or not yet. And I think that my conclusion is that I very much do. And the reason is because of conversations like this. There's so many different ways to interpret these interactions that they have, that it's hard to put your finger down on something concrete. Now, I did suspect that there were multiple timelines when I started to see the same character doing different things.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
was
like-
what's his name? The guy that that the
Eddie?
Man in Black like kidnapped and had him like
Yes,
was
that
taking
was
them, and then all of
when
a
he
sudden
slid-
he killed
yeah.
him, and then he showed up immediately in the next scene.
Yeah.
as
That's
another
when
character.
That's when I went,
Yeah.
okay, we're dealing with different timelines. That was
It was
seemed
just like
specific.
I get
Oh,
it.
I
They're really
see. That makes
effective at their
sense.
jobs, and they're super effective at getting the hosts cleaned up and put back in the park. But like that was just like that turnover was too quick, man.
Yeah.
Like he had a
that's
whole new
true.
character
I didn't
and
think about
narrative like
that
within
till
a
now.
day. Like that's fucked up.
That's
yeah,
true.
and yeah, so I forget where my point was going with that now. but you know, that's when I started to kind of see that happening as well. But this is one of those shows that I mess up a lot with my theories. Like I normally can watch the things, and there's, you know, like we've talked about the man versus nature, blah 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 blah. Things get very predictable, and people try to make them as unpredictable as possible, and sometimes that's a fault, you know. But this was one of the few shows that I felt like stayed true to itself, had a really good plot, good story, stayed on course, and in the process wasn't very predictable. I didn't know Bernard was a host. I didn't even consider it, you know, like, and that's great. That's phenomenal. That's what I want, you know. So
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys
What
felt
door?
about it, but overall,
I liked
thought was great.
it. I just really hope that now that they've been picked up for like I think 2 more seasons, they've already been like HBO's like, all right, cool, we got our Game of Thrones replacement when that's not on TV, you know, like but like I'm really like I trust Jonathan Nolan. He's a fucking really good writer. Like he's really talented. But like I really hope that they don't get to the point where like all they rely on are the twist of like, guess what, they're a host, you know, like it worked in the first season, like the several times that you found out people were hosts that you didn't know were hosts or whatever. They
I feel
worked, but I just don't want them to rely on that like, you know, plot device too much. 'Cause that's like their plot device. They can do that in their show. No other show can do that, you know.
Yeah.
In the second season, they
Except for,
reveal
like-
that they know that they're in a TV show.
It was like the last time they could do that was Galactica with the Cylons, you know.
Yeah.
And that does, watching the show, I do feel a lot of Battlestar Galactica in it, and it's almost like Battlestar Galactica kind of like scratched the surface, and this is like digging your fingers in the wound, you know, kind of thing. So I did get that for definitely. Go
What
ahead,
was
Shane.
good is that they did this first season, but you know they did it in a way where I felt like they were very confident that they would get multiple seasons off of this, because you know even at the end, right, they introduced the samurai world, right? So that's a whole nother world in itself. So you know that's
that got me thinking like, oh shit,
nightmare though.
What was
I know
that?
now I was
The
thinking
host
like
killing everyone
Westworld.
at that party at the end.
I was wondering like now it's like, does that mean that there's multiple parks? There's like a pirate park, you know, samurai,
Exactly.
like an ancient Japan park, like or something.
Exactly.
Like
So I don't know,
pretty cool.
you know, like is the next season going to be how these parks interact with each other, or they end up battling, or is it going to be, you know, trying to continually get out of this place, right, and get into the real world type of thing? So
And the
kinda
the
interesting.
movie had a sequel. It was Future World.
Oh.
Future world, really?
Yeah,
Wait, I
I'm
mean,
not
are you?
joking.
Oh, okay.
It had Peter Fonda in it.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Okay.
Peter Fondue? I had no idea. But it like
What happened in
here-
that?
Yeah, what happened in that?
Yeah.
All right, wait, hold on. Put the poster in the Discord for you.
Okay.
It's kind of sexy.
Peter Fonda. That had to be in the 70s, right?
And then they came out with Waterworld, which was Kevin Costner. That was another.
Oh my God! Look at this. Okay, cool.
Jurassic World. I mean, they just kept going. They liked their worlds.
Jurassic World. That's right.
They just kept going, man.
Okay, all right. Okay, so they did come out with something pretty
Your
different.
world,
pretty
where you
different
just
than
get
I
out
think
of
what
the
season 2 will be
ocean,
here.
sphere.
That's funny.
The
man.
Underworld.
But here's the question again. I rewatched because I watched the season before we decided we were going to do this.
Yeah.
And just kind of to brush up, I watched a few episodes, and I think the first episode, if you guys haven't gone back after finishing
I watched it
the
last
show
night. Yeah. Again.
and watched the first episode again, it's insanely interesting for many reasons. But one of them is, the guy who creates the hosts, he's doing the narratives, when Ford isn't. The skinny guy, kind of arrogant, whatever, gets drunk and pisses over. Anyways, it's funny because he sort of sees what's happening. Like, he warns against it even. He says, listen, why is Ford continually trying to make them more human-like? He says like this is a bad direction. Like, they're fine. He's like, the hosts are fine. The hosts are at a place now where they do what they're supposed to do, which is entertain the masses or the rich people that come here, right? Like, he's like, after this point, we're just fucking around with shit. Like, he's like, I think we should take them back a few updates. Like, he was saying, like,
keep it more manageable.
Yeah, keep them manageable. He's like, think about the costs. Think about the man hours. Think about the narrative. Like, he was like, if you just toned them back just a couple updates and then just worked with that, like, we would make so much money. It's so much better for the guests. It would be more entertaining. Like, why does Ford keep pushing to make them more realistic? And that's when she does.
He wants to be a god.
It's
it's
a combination.
Like, he's rich,
Well, I mean,
he doesn't need to make any
I think
money.
you're absolutely right. And that's what they want us to think. But if you think about it too, it's, I think management also wanted the same. They just want, like, we just want a place where people can just go fuck whatever they want and kill whatever they want. And that's it. Like, no crazy, super complex narratives and all that stuff. But at the same time, it's just, if you think about it, it's like any game developer, right? Like, in terms of engagement, you want to make a game that keeps people playing it for years and years and years. And if you have the same exact thing in it, like, kind of Williams, a perfect example, right? He's experienced everything you could probably experience in this game except for figuring out how this whole game works, right? So, I mean, I can understand why you would want to keep making these hosts more complex, and, lifelike is basically the complexity of it. But it's different. Obviously, Ford wants, I mean, I don't know about Ford itself, but, Arnold for sure wanted to make these hosts sentient. And that's a totally different motivation versus the monetary revenue generating portion of this product or whatnot.
Yeah, and in that conversation further with that guy, the one chick, I forget her name, the one that gets killed by Bernard, whatever her name is, you guys don't.
Oh yeah, the QA, the head of QA. Girl.
Yeah, the head of QA. Mm-hmm. She said, he says to her, I think that the company, he's like, I know the company has bigger goals in mind, and she goes, all right, well, humor me. What are they? Right. And he couldn't answer. She goes, so you're smart enough to know there's a bigger picture, but not smart enough to see it. Like what it actually is. So let me ask you guys, let me pose a question to you guys. I'm all full of questions today.
Apparently, child.
I know, because
where do babies come from?
He's our guy. He's our host today. All right, he's guiding us through this.
I am. Listen, I've got all these questions I've held in my brain for this long for this show. So indulge me. What is Ford's main goal? What is his main goal, and what is the company's main goal? Do you guys have any guesses on those? If I'll let you guys go, and I'll throw my.
Actually, Bikeman, what do you think?
Company wants to make the money, I feel.
Yeah.
But how? How do they make the money though? Like, obviously they want to make money. They're
a park where no problems happen.
Yeah, where no one gets killed.
Where no one gains awareness. That's out of bounds.
Do you think that there is something more sinister, deeper about the company other than just revenue?
Yeah, I definitely think there is. I think they hinted at it because they were talking about mining data, right, at one point. And I think in a way, I don't know exactly how they're going to use the data, but they could be selling it to, just scientific organizations to do whatever they want with it, or
they're just looking at interest so that they can put advertisements in the host. That's all.
It could be that
and
too.
Then you're gonna go
it could be that too,
adventure, right? And the bandit's gonna go, maybe I should drink some of this delicious diet Coca-Cola before we have this fight. Would you like to indulge with me?
Oh, yeah. Actually, we need to talk about the music at one point too. But so remind me to get back to that. That reminds me of that for some reason. But no, I think there is something going on, at least from the just the company standpoint, that they want to do stuff with not the data for sure mined from it, but also possibly the world, whether it's like literally a science experiment type of scenario with, another company or some other element. There's definitely a long game to the organization that they don't talk about. And then with Ford, I think it's pretty clear. I feel like Ford just wanted to, complete this project that he and his partner were doing. And his partner, I felt like was already ahead of the game, ahead of him in really seeing how
he was a committed man.
Exactly. Right. And I like he said, it took maybe 35 years to really see, really what the end of this project really is. And I think that's what he was completing during this entire thing. And and ended up accomplishing with Dolores, in my opinion. It's up to Dolores to carry it on from there.
Yeah. Diction, did you have any theories there?
Not particularly. I mean, still wondering exactly what Ford is up to. Like, what's the point of just murdering all his fucking guests?
Or what's the point of murdering himself? That's another thing.
Maybe he was ready to die. He was just like, fuck it. Like, I've done this is my life's work. I'm done. Later.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I think
maybe that's well, I mean, I think you have to kill. I mean, he's basically the restricting, aspect to this entire thing, right? He's kind of the god of this world, and if you eliminate that restriction, then these hosts, these sentient beings can evolve themselves, right? They can, he talked about evolution at one point too, right? So I mean, I think if you remove the control aspect to this, then things can actually evolve on their own.
I didn't really see it that way, but now that you say it like that, I agree. I think that's probably the best explanation probably for it that I could come up with. I was trying to decide why he would kill himself, and I kind of fell more on Dicktion's theory that, hey, I did my life's work kind of thing. But I guess the idea of killing off yourself if you're the god of these people to create kind of an uprising or anarchy or chaos, and that, these people, these hosts might find themselves or find their race or what's important to them. It's weird too. If I had to guess, I would say that probably there's some sort of military reason why they are the companies involved in this. I think it's been made clear that these hosts can do everything that people do, and at crazy, almost like superhuman levels, with just the slider, they can become stronger or smarter or whatever. That would be extremely valuable to, I mean, it's basically a super soldier, and it's like super soldier robots. I mean, you've got to see the applications in a military sense, right? But I can see where Ford would reject that idea. He doesn't want his creations, he's the god of these people. He want them to become mindless military husks, No, he doesn't. So instead, he kind of sets them loose on everybody. And
yeah.
Like, I can see that being a scenario. Now, is that right or wrong? I have no idea. It's just my theory right now. It's the best thing I can come up with. But we're given and this is another thing I want to talk about, is how little information we're given about the outside world. We see nothing of the outside world. The closest we see of the outside world is them like lounging outside at the pool at the facility. Like, that's it. Like otherwise,
that's not even really outside world. Actually, that's still, I think, officially inside the.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. That's the closest we get. Maybe the train station. If you really want to push it.
I think the train station, the introduction room. That whole thing that William was going through when they were first introducing the young William, was probably the closest thing in the picture too. The picture of the girl, his wife or whatnot. So we know there's, or at least a regular world that's somewhere.
Yeah. So it does look modern in that picture, right? It looks like a city,
yeah.
But that's really all we're given, and I think if there was something to explore that's going to be interesting and new and maybe not so host centric, like who's a host, who isn't at Battlestar Galactica, it's getting more involved with the world, like outside of Westworld. We've been entirely here. We've been in a little bubble, right? And now this bubble's gonna pop, which is what's happened in season 1, and now we get to see how that affects everything else. You know, all the spray goes everywhere else on the entire world and how that changes things. But we don't even know how things are to begin with. So I think season 2 is going to be a lot of learning of that. But it's amazing though how much they were able to how interesting they were able to make this while just staying in such a small, you know, quote unquote small area. You know, like the scope of the show isn't very large actually. It's
true.
Within Westworld and the facility, you know. So it's it's really interesting where they go from here. I think that's exciting.
Hey, so who was everybody's favorite character in the entire series?
That's a really good question, and I think innately I wanted to say the Man in Black, but I think that, like, when I'm thinking about it, I think Bernard is probably my favorite. But innately I wanted to go with, when you said who's your favorite, the first thing that popped into my mind was Man in Black. But I think Bernard is probably my
favorite. Okay.
Yeah.
Diction?
Maeve.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, Maeve is super good.
Bikeman?
Maeve, and then Man in Black close second, because it was interesting in the movie. He was a host that went crazy. He was the main villain.
Yeah.
And then they changed his character, so I was really interested to see.
I think my favorite actress was Maeve for sure. I mean, I think she did amazing. I think it was Chandy.
She spent a lot of time.
Thandie Newton
in the
show,
show,
not Chandy. But I think acting wise, I think she was the best. I actually think I like Ford's character the best. I think, I don't know, he kind of had this whole Dr. Frankenstein kind of feel to him, and you know, there's a lot of philosophical. I mean, he basically would just be the philosophical.
He was
initiator.
puppet mastering.
Yeah, totally puppet mastering, and you just kind of wondered, like, you're always wondering what was going on with him. I think Anthony Hopkins did a great job of keeping that interesting.
He's like playing chess with like the parent company too, because there's like every now and then they try to throw me curveballs and shit.
Yeah, and then he's like that evil. He's the guy that's telling Bernard to kill two very, one very important person, but even kill his right hand person too, right? Just because she was starting to
didn't even like bat an eye. He's like, well, for the greater good, you know. Blah.
Have you ever told me to do this before? No, never. And then he completely remembers exactly. So yeah, I really liked Anthony Hopkins too. But great actors. I mean, they're all extremely good. The only person that I think it was just so was probably Evan Rachel Wood, and I don't even know if it's her fault. I just don't think she was given that much.
Her character was like really uninteresting, even though she had like so much to do, and like she was the pivotal, like, you know, AI consciousness plot point. She just was so wooden.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and it's tough because, you know, we're talking about Dolores, right?
Yeah, Dolores, basically.
Yeah, it's tough because you sort of have to be that way, you know, like you sort of have to be sort of that robotic smiling kind of thing, you know. But I think I would have liked to see her have more personality to the character at the end. You know, like I still felt like she was
crying.
Robotic.
That's about all she was doing.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying though. Like,
I get what
I
you.
Think,
yeah, I get.
I wish you would have loosened up a little bit. You know, like I think it would have lent itself to the idea that they did have consciousness more.
Yeah, if you cut to a character and the audience goes, oh, "Okay, I'm gonna sit through this to get to the good stuff again," then something's wrong.
I think it might have been a script issue. In her script, it said, "Act like a robot." Where in everybody else's script it didn't say act like a robot. So she was literally the person that felt the most like a robotic host versus everybody else.
And it's
That's
you know,
crazy.
and she's supposed to be different from everybody else
Yeah,
because she's the first.
But she's
you
supposed
know,
to be
and
like the most real out of all of it.
Yeah, that's
so that
true,
was
too. She gets
fucked up.
constant upgrades. They say that she gets constantly updated.
Yeah.
And they say, don't be fooled by her being the first person. She's the most updated, blah, 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 blah. And maybe that's why she's still so, like, welcome to Chuck E. Cheese, like, play my drum, that kind of thing. But like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna
place
like
the blame.
her.
I hate to do it, but I'm gonna hate to place the blame on the actress on this one because
I
I feel
think
that I've seen this sort of character done before, and I've seen it done in more interesting. The actor was able to do things with their eyes and face and stuff that made me care about them more.
I agree.
I agree. So you believe that this does fall on the actress?
I do.
Okay.
I mean, I think you can get across the point that she did, and the writing for her, and like the point of her, but like you could also make it more interesting.
Yeah, and I agree with you for sure. I hate to because I like the show.
It's
well, she's like
timing,
the star too. Like she is the centerpiece of this thing, and it's definitely the weakest point of the show, and that's a shame because she's gonna be the main character next season too. Hopefully, she's a lot better, or she's given something that she can work with a lot better.
I guess we'll see her acting chops then. Let's see.
No,
what
she's been good
like.
in other movies and stuff. I mean, it's not like Evan Rachel Wood is actually a great actress in other things, but just not this particular one.
Well, like I said, like in season 2, we're gonna get to see her not constrained maybe by that host mentality. So if there is a question of it, maybe she'll get more interesting in season 2. I guess we can hope.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, Bikeman. I think it does kind of fall on the actress in this point. Though I am trying to think of like other roles that are similar and who played them and who is better. And I can't think of that immediately. But I think if I think about it more, I'll probably come up with a few.
Give me a second.
Give me 2 seconds. Are you Googling or are you thinking?
Isn't that
like
one in the
grocery
same
situation?
One in the same.
It's a grocery list situation where you arrive at the grocery store and you're like, "What did I come here for?" Like, let me just like conjure some shit because I know I've seen it done better.
Well, okay, so let's.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say let's while you're looking that up, let's talk a little bit about the music.
Oh God, dude, the music. Oh, good. They're little subtle things too. I don't know if you guys caught like all the music the piano was playing. Did you guys catch?
Oh yeah.
Oh God, that was so
some
good.
like Radiohead going on.
It was Radiohead. They played Black Hole Sun at one point. They played Painted Black. Oh man, that was the part I was. I would just catch that every time. I'm like, oh, that's so cool that they're just weaving in some modern, at least our age, our modern type of tunes. But even Reverie, like I think I love that song. I mean, I play the piano, so I've played that song. Like, I mean that song is perfect for the theme for just all of this stuff. And obviously they called the update Reverie too. But that was really nice touch too. I don't know what part was.
Are you talking about the intro song? Are you talking about the intro song?
No, the song that they play like just at the very end or when Arnold dies, like his son's favorite song.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I want to talk about the intro
song
even. Like the intro song. Like,
oh, okay. Yeah.
Let's like when I love intros to shows, right? And I like rate them based on like what I like least and what I like most and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And this one I liked immediately, but I didn't know why until I started to think about it. I started to watch the show and I realized that if I were to put a song to the creation of a new race, like that's pretty much like what this is trying to encompass, right? This intro song, it's pretty fucking good when you think about it on those terms. Like it starts out the serene, it's almost like a melody, but a sad melody, like this is going to have tragedy. This is going to have all these things. And then at the end, it gets a little bit more, I think it's
more.
I'm not a music person, but like crescendo, I think is the term.
Crescendo.
Yes.
It builds up.
It builds up and it gets like almost violent at the end. And like, it kind of like bangs in. It's crazy, man. And I think about it when I listen to it. I think about just like starting of a new race, you know, like all the things they don't know yet, all the things they're going to experience. And I listen to that song and man, I get goosebumps, dude. Like I think it was incredible. I love the Paint It Black on the piano. And you know what? It hints to the outside world as well. You know, like this world, in this world, they wanted something familiar, but also, you know, sounding old timey. So they get the old timey, you know, piano that plays modern music. So maybe the world that we're in is a modern world as we know it. You know, maybe it's in the future. Who knows? But these songs exist for them, you know, so that says something about the outside world. So it's clues too. But that scene with Paint It Black when they're robbing, that solidified the whole entire. That made me go, I'm gonna finish this season. Like, it doesn't matter what happens. I'm gonna finish this. The way she shoots the guy that's being drugged by the horse, like doom, 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 like 4 times, and the music's playing in the back. I'm like, oh, it was crazy. It was fucking crazy, but I loved it. The music was insane, well thought out. I think it was on cue. I think they did really, really well. I think it was very the mood setting.
Westworld.
The mood setting is insane with the music. I think it was
Westworld soundtrack. Someone made a.
Is there?
Somebody in the chat saying. Somebody in the chat says the same composer who created Game of Thrones theme. That guy has a gift, man.
He does.
That guy has a fucking gift.
Yeah,
he knows how to capture.
Yeah, it does have that. You could hear a little bit of that similarities in it, and you know that when I first watched it, right when I was watching the first episode, and you know just obviously experienced the intro for the first time too. I can't say it had an immediate impact on me, but it was definitely something that I ended up appreciating by what by the end, because I have no idea what this thing is about, right? Like and when you hear when you're hearing this, it wasn't quite what I expected, because it's showing these Western type of images and whatnot, and you're hearing a different type of melody. So I didn't understand that at all, but as I was watching these episodes one by one, then I started to appreciate the intro music a lot more. So it wasn't an immediate response for me, but definitely
it's
great.
Okay, now I remembered where I saw it better, by the way, when you're done.
Yes,
okay. What is
and back to Bikeman for the
It was Alicia Vikander from Ex Machina.
There you go. There we go.
Machina.
Yeah, that's
Machina.
Machina. What is it?
Mash it up.
He's the sequel to MASH. Definitely did a way better job at
she was. Alicia was great in that movie. That's a great movie too.
She had wide, expressive eyes.
That's so deep of you, Mike.
Fucking holy shit.
Yeah, it's I guess she was boring. I guess she was a shit actress. You're right, Bikeman.
I don't mean to shit on her.
I know. But that's why we're here. We're here to talk about it, right?
I mean, that's right. We don't hold punches.
It doesn't mean we're right or wrong. This is just our opinion, but it's the opinion I happen to agree with you on. But it's funny too. We haven't even talked about like the small details in the cinematography that lend itself to the story too. Like if you watch season or episode 1, you'll see that it does the daily routine of Teddy, right? So Teddy's on the train, he gets off the train, he hits the tavern, grabs a drink, talks to Maeve, goes and then sees what's her name through the window, and then he goes out to her, and that's the narrative, right? You see that play out. It's funny though, in the same episode, you see the narrative happen again, and nothing interrupts it, but Maeve actually is different. She's different. She doesn't respond in the same way that she did in the first one. And then at the end of the episode, when the people take over the tavern, right, or the saloon, they go to get the safe. You see that she actually says, like, I'm not feeling myself today. Like, I'm not feeling normal today. Now, is that programmed? I don't know. But the fact is that he says to her, the girl comes up and hits on Teddy, right? The one prostitute lady and she says, you don't have a rind on you. You don't have a rind on you. You're brand new. He says, I prefer to win the affections of a lady, not purchase it. Which then Maeve comes in and says, you're still paying for it. we're just doing it up front here, basically what she says. But the second time they go on that loop, she doesn't talk to him. She doesn't even.
She doesn't talk to him, but she was talking to somebody else though. So maybe there are diversions, right? Just kind of like Teddy got
there are
divided,
diversions. There are diversions in the thing. They talk about that, but I didn't think that she was. Maybe I missaw that scene then.
She was. She was talking to a guy when normally she would have been at the bar right next to Teddy. Having that interaction.
Oh,
so
maybe
it could have been. It could have been just another guest.
Line.
Yeah, another guest just had her attention. The timing of it all. I don't know how they do that, right? Teddy being in the bar exactly when Dolores is going to get the horse every day and pulling that off. That's pretty. That would be pretty hard logistically, I think, to do. Also, the world is just huge. It's big. It was very large, like probably something. Miles and miles.
Take you like almost 2 days to go across, right?
Probably. So, having to replace all of these hosts every day, how do you do that? How are you able to do that with it by the end of the day? They obviously couldn't reset everybody.
You'd think they would have shown like a room where they had duplicates of everyone.
I know, right? That would actually make sense. That would make sense. Yeah.
There's a lot about like the world and how it interacts with the company and like how you just got to kind of go, all right, we got to suspend our belief a little bit. I have like questions that are just sort of like out there. Like, I want to know more about how they feel pain. Like not they, like us in that world. It's like, what's his name got hit by a bullet, right? And he did flinch.
Right, he got bruised. He got bruised, actually.
Like a bruise. Yeah, it's almost like airsoft, right?
Yeah,
or
pink ball, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but like then it makes me think like, what about kids? Like, what about the kids? Like, people bring their kids here. That's like the first town they walk into. What if a kid catches a stray bullet or sees some dude get like shot on the street? Things that are outside of the control of the company in Westworld that other participants are there.
Are guests allowed to bring their kids? I don't remember seeing.
Yeah, there was. Oh, yeah. There was the boy in the very beginning where Dolores was painting.
Oh yeah,
yeah. They're definitely kids. There were definitely kids there.
So how do you shield kids from seeing like murder and like raping and like but like that's what I'm saying. How is this a kid-friendly area? Like, how do they justify
it's not irresponsible parents is what it is, man.
maybe but
it's like bringing your kid to an R-rated movie.
Yeah, but it's not. But it's beyond that, right?
I couldn't rape this prostitute because there was a baby crying through the whole thing.
Shit, we play video games. There are MA video games there, but that have storylines as
I know, but it's like it's when you make it Westworld, it's supposed to. Is
realistic,
this supposed to be a adult theme park? It's never marketed that way. It's more of like a just come to the West, see the West as it was, that kind of thing. But like. Do children need to see the West as it was? Is that not a little? Did you guys think about this at all? Like, what about the kids? Like, what about the kids?
What about the kids? What about our future? No, I didn't think about too much about it. They did have a little bit like, they showed the family, and it's kind of cool the family could be out there, but in wandering the wilderness, like the one that ran into Dolores, but there's bandits out there. They're bandits that could have just like kidnapped them, and
it makes me wonder like about I'm sorry, I get fanciful with details like when I think about like the stuff like that, like the kids in the park and stuff like the robots, like with a detected child and presence changing like vocal parameters. You darn jerks better get out of here. The swears are turned off for a while.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, how do they accommodate this limitless world and what you can do in it, but also have kids there? Like, it seems
you could have sectored it off, but they didn't, obviously. But
at the end of their visit, I believe, Ellohime, at the end of their visit, the children are taken to like a farm, and they go, "This is the special farm," and all the people that died that they saw are like hanging out, like like having a happy time and waving. They're like, "Oh, we're on the special farm."
This is the petting zoo too, guys. You can ride on your ponies and shit like
that. You ever owned are back there in the field.
Yeah, get the old animal death package. And, we'll create up your dead animal and make it live in our world for them.
Dude,
Yeah,
man, that people would pay for that shit. We were just talking about it on Black Mirror, right?
Kids would
Freaking
grow up
creating
with the
your
most
spouse.
fucked up thoughts about the real world if they like had tricked into seeing a special. Forget Santa Claus being alive. The realization that you went to the special farm to see all your pets, and then you fucking like you turn 20 and you're like, those weren't real. You fucking break downtown.
Spot's not dead. He's on a
Exactly.
special farm in
Special
Westworld.
farm. My parents fucking went to elaborate ends to fuck me up.
But like, I do think about all this. Like, I do think about all.
You know that you mentioned that whole thing about him getting shot and bruised or whatnot. So Dolores broke William's arm at the end. Was that still within? I mean, what wasn't the parameter
That's what I'm
still there
talking
not to
about.
get hurt? I mean, you can't kill them, but man, if you can break somebody's arm, that's
almost
a pretty big
scarier.
extent. Yeah, that's like that
I
was the
can't
whole
kill you, but
pain
I
thing
can
that we were
fucking
talking about.
Pain the shit out of you.
Exactly. I don't know. I felt like that should not be allowed either. But Dolores again was, she was progressed. I don't know, maybe beyond that parameter. She couldn't kill him, obviously, but
maybe just simply Ford had dropped the parameter. Like he could have
Can you?
dropped.
I mean, know if you can.
Here's the only theory that I can think of is that, okay, so we did see sliders, right? So like intelligence, strength, pain sliders,
Yeah.
Maybe before you go in there, they ask you what level you want your pain slider to have. So for kids, obviously 0.
Yeah. Okay.
If you're an
I can see
adult
that.
male,
Yeah.
like a macho thing, you might want to feel a paintball or you might want to know what happened, So all right, a slider of 1 or 2, maybe 3, whatever. But like my only thing is that maybe when Dolores figured things out, she understood how to manipulate those parameters, or Ford simply dropped them, or the Man in Black simply has a higher pain slider than others willingly, because he does get punched in the face by Teddy. Now, at the end of the day, I mean, there's a scene in the first thing where he gets shot, right? And it bounces off of him. Sure. Okay. You don't want to allow yourself to be shot by a bullet, but maybe Man in Black's okay if one of them grabs his arm and tries to break it. Maybe that excites him. Maybe that gets him more into what he's doing. So, I mean, he could have simply chose a higher pain threshold or a lower pain threshold than others. I mean, if we're talking about sliders.
I think that's probably right. He would have had 100% pain. That's for sure. Because
that's like I read the article about like how Westworld's like a video game and like all the players go in and Man in Black's the guy who's like played the game over and over and over and done speed runs, and now he's trying to break it and find like the holes and secrets and shit.
Yeah.
He's like way beyond everyone else.
Trolls people whenever he gets a chance. Haha, you fucking level ones. Let's just kill all the level ones today. He just goes in there, PvPs them.
By the way, guys, if you guys have anything that you guys wanted to talk about on the show, we invite you guys to jump into the Discord group. I believe Monkey's in there. Yes, Monkey is in there. And if you guys wanted to jump on the call and, throw out a theory or maybe something we talked about struck a chord with you, or maybe you disagree, please feel free to jump on and talk to us. It doesn't have to be a question.
Just don't talk to me. I'm too tired right now.
Yeah, don't talk to Diction. He's barely.
I'm struggling. I'm struggling.
He's sick and he's a little tired.
Yeah, so don't ask him anything. Fuck that guy. But ask the rest of us.
We'll be taking calls actually soon. We don't necessarily have to wait till the end. So
I know. I'm not at the end. I'm just saying that, like, I'm just reminding. That's all.
Yeah, Monkey. Whenever people are ready, just message me, Monkey. And
can I non sequitur for a second
Sure,
here?
Go
and
for
like, it. Which I love to do, by the way. I love the young CGI on Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, that was good.
I have a wicked hard on for that shit. Like when they did Arnold Schwarzenegger and the Terminators recently, and he looks fucking like 80s Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm like, that's fucking awesome. He could live forever now.
That's true.
It's like, man, it like I saw that and I was so impressed. I literally said to myself, like, look how far we've come.
Yeah.
Like that is insane. Yeah, the young Anthony Hopkins looked fantastic.
I put that picture in the spoiler alert channel in Discord of him, the young one.
Oh
Fucking
man.
Oh, nice,
dude.
Yeah, it was. I forgot all about that. That was absolutely insane.
Looks so good, man.
Where's the picture? Let me.
It's in the spoiler alert channel on my Discord.
Okay.
It looks good.
God, man. It does look good. It looks so good. It looks just like
He just got done starring in Magic with the ventriloquist dummy. It was a movie he starred in actually in real life and way back.
So how surprised were you guys with Bernard being Arnold? We didn't even talk about that. Bernard being a replica of Arnold.
That one, like once that particular episode started, I kind of got the feeling that it was him.
I mean, it's one thing being a host, but it's another thing. It's actually Arnold. The point was to make him essentially.
It's got so many implications. One, it means that Ford is very well aware of the plans and schemes that are being mounted against him, right? Because basically, Bernard is a spy in so many ways. He's like Ford's own little spy and assassin, and the thing is that Bernard's been sleeping with the head of, whatever that
Teresa, the head of QA.
Yeah, Teresa, the head of QA. And, there's so many implications to that. Elise, I think it was Elise or whatever her name is, the girl from Raising Hope or whatever her name is, that gets killed. The girl that is like there, she's a big part of like 5 episodes, and then
Elsie?
she disappears.
You mean like
Elsie.
The right hand?
Oh,
The right hand. His
you know,
right hand.
Elsie. I mean, it kills Elsie. I mean, we don't even know if Elsie's dead. That's another thing too.
She was in a headlock, and
but look at the cinematography though. Think about the cinematography. We haven't seen her be killed or go lifeless or anything like that. Well, they have no problem showing Bernard kill Teresa and like very visually, there is no coming back, smashing her head into the wall, punching, that kind of thing. But when you get to Elise, you just see the choking scene for a second. You never see her go out. You never see her lose consciousness. You never see her die. Fair. And then it's over. So the cinematography differences leads me to believe that there's more with Elsie, But that would mean that Bernard has kind of gone against his code or is working in secret against Ford, even through programming. Like the implications of what you're saying. It's like, yeah, and this is what's so great about it. It goes beyond, there's more. The more to think about, it's like you think you figure this out, and it's like then you have to fit it all together, and then you got to go, how does this fit? How does that fit? How does this fit? How does it, and he's trying to put this puzzle together. It's insane, but
So,
anyways,
I don't know why I thought of this out of nowhere, but one of the funniest scenes, or one of the scenes that we should talk about is the scene where Thandie Newton's Maeve, right? She's already recruiting the two other hosts, right? The girl and the guy, the bandits, basically. Yeah. And it's in that scene where the guys, painting on the snake on the girl, right? And the other guy takes the dude and over there, and he's about to, he's like lubing up and getting ready to do his thing.
Graphic.
Yeah. Oh god, dude, that scene was hilarious. But it makes you think, like, and they referenced it before, right? I think in the show that, in fact, they were blackmailing that one guy because he was obviously screwing, one of the other ones. I wonder how often that would happen. If just how often these people preparing these hosts or whatnot would just be doing sexual acts on them.
Well, I mean, even
Elsie was making out with the girl.
Elsie,
yeah.
Even
exactly.
Elsie kind of like made out with the girl for a second, like just kind of kissed her, like, and I guess there's like this level that I guess it's kind of like a company thing, like. There's like do's and don'ts, and I think do's, if you are attracted, you want to take a kiss, whatever, nobody's gonna be, don'ts, don't take them in the back and like fuck them on top of a bunch of dead corpses of their friends and stuff like there's like
don't soil them with your semen because then we're gonna have to clean it out.
But like, here's the question too. If and this again raises more questions, if the company views the host as 100% artificial, that these are toasted, these are people, whatever. Why is it such a big deal that one of them would fuck another? Like one of their employees would fuck one of them, like maybe it's like you don't piss where you eat, kind of there, you don't shit where you eat kind of thing, maybe. But at the same time, it can't be a moral conundrum. Like it's not a moral thing to fuck these.
Definitely
hosts.
not. I mean, even Anthony Hopkins at one point just cut that guy, it's like, why are you, why are you dressing that person, right? And then he just goes and just like cuts his face, right? That host's face, just to prove that these are robots. These are not real people.
So why would it be a big deal
Yeah,
if somebody fucks
it's true.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why is that the big deal? Maybe there's a company policy or something like that, but they've been pushing, like you said, that's an excellent point. That scene with Ford where he, says, why are you dressing him? That kind of thing. I don't know. Hi, Marla. Dance, cat. Dance.
Was anyone else weirded out every time they see Stephen Ogg in something like this, and you're like, Trevor?
I really want him to get more media roles because like every time he shows up in something, he's the exact same character. He's just Trevor again.
I feel like he's
more range than that. I believe Dog is more range than that.
You know what we're talking about, Ello?
Wait. Yeah, I'm trying to.
Trevor from Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah, it's the
actor looks exactly like him. He's in this. He's in Walking Dead.
Better Call Saul.
Better Call Saul.
Yeah,
it's a great scene. I love that scene.
My Nightmares. He's also appeared.
What's My Nightmares? Oh, Your Nightmares. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was like, what's My Nightmares? I've never seen that.
He's actually appeared in My Nightmares.
Oh God.
God damn. Now. Oh, speaking of that, I have my own little thing with that with another character. Anytime I see young William, I always think of McCoy or
McCoy.
Like,
God damn it!
And then they have the scene with Trevor and the other thing that goes crazy all about the milk. The milk.
Yeah.
I'm like McCoy.
Oh man, that's funny.
Oh my God, it's so crazy. What's this is total segue. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I wanted to talk about this last thing. How fucked up the Man in Black really is. Like how you get it, like he's fucked up, but when you go back and watch episode 1 again, knowing all the history,
he's like shot her and raped her a million times.
He's raped this woman like over and over and over. It's like he went into this world. He thought that he fell in love with what he thought was this, real person, or he knew, but he didn't, whatever. She has a story. And then she doesn't recognize him. So he gets bitter about it and rapes her for like the next 30 years. That is insane.
Oh, didn't he say he was romantic for a while, but he got bored?
Like not in the first
in
episode.
the last episode he did.
Maybe he did, but like he just walks up, he's like, Teddy. He's like, he even tells Teddy, like, it took me a long time to realize why you even exist. And he's like, the reason you exist, Teddy, is because you need a loser, or winning doesn't feel good. Like, you're the loser. I'm going to take this girl from you and I'm going to rape your girl, and it's going to feel good because I know that you're going to be upset about it. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm taking something from you. And it's like, damn, man. Like, God, you are evil. You are so evil. But there's like beauty in that, right? Because he's his true self. He doesn't waver. He knows who he is. He can claim what a lot of people can't claim, is that he like everybody asks themselves, who am I? He knows that answer. The answer is frightening and fucking terrifying, but there is some beauty in the fact that he does know who he is. He is, he's found himself through the game, that kind of thing. And, he doesn't feel the need to be any different, like that's him.
I think he indulges himself too, because in that conversation he has with Ford, he even tells Ford, like, hey, I'm that evil character in this whole storyline or narrative, or at least he's trying to make himself be that bad guy that's going to be the main bad guy in this story. And so he's probably indulging even more. His objective obviously is still to figure out the source of everything, but he's having fun with it. He's having fun fucking up other narratives, just killing Teddy. Once you kill somebody, the storyline just ends. I don't even know what happens to the rest of the storyline. So this guy spends, I don't know how much time coming up with some storyline that lasts the entire day probably, and then it can just end instantly. It's just kind of like that mob scene. Remember that the very first time he's like, I just wrote a new narrative. Like these bandits come into town, they shoot up the town, and then he's going to give this awesome speech at the end, and then that one innocent guest walks up to him and just shoots him in the head before he gives the speech.
Yeah,
and then
so
he's
good.
like, oh.
Let this be a lesson to you. And that lesson is.
Maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe tomorrow.
That was so funny, but it's crazy how just little things like that. How awesome would it be writing for something like that though? Getting a chance to figure out these type of fun narratives.
I'd have a field day.
Yeah, it'd be amazing, man.
God, man, it'd be awesome. I think that dude. I think he's gonna play a much bigger role in the seasons to come. The skinny dude,
the new Ford guy, I guess.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, he's I think he's gonna have a much larger role, and I can't wait to see what that is exactly.
He's kind of like what's that dude from Battlestar that like betrayed Earth and he was like kind of a pussy for most of the series, but like he's kind of like that dude.
Gaius, no,
yes,
yes, Gaius Baltar, yes, yeah,
he's the Gaius.
Oh my God, I love Gaius Baltar. Oh, we got to watch Battle. We got to do an episode of Battlestar.
Oh, man.
Anyways,
I gotta catch up on that then. That's
yeah.
There's like a million episodes of Battlestar.
No, it's not bad. It's like 5 seasons. Like it's
just 5 seasons.
Just 5 seasons.
How about we say
that's like more than any other.
We have a month to watch it.
I know, exactly. That'd be crazy. It'd have to be season.
Have you not watched it, Nick?
Season, but
I've watched it up until season 4, but I have to go back and rewatch it.
I've watched it up to season 3. So
I'd have to watch 4 and 5
myself. Yeah.
So good. You want to take some calls now, Chan?
So we have a ton of callers, but I don't know if I don't know if they're ready to. I think Monkey's had some problems hearing them, so still trying to figure out a couple. Maybe in a couple minutes. Let's see what. Give Monkey a couple more minutes, and then he'll send me who should be our first caller. But we got a lot of folks in the channel, so. Guys, once you get in the channel, let Monkey Overlord know you want to hop on the call with us. He'll probably ask you what you want to ask, and hopefully your audio is set up so once you get on, you'll immediately be able to talk instead of hello, I can't hear you. And that little thing that we always do. So go to this channel, guys, if you guys want to participate in that.
And mute the broadcast. Don't try to watch the broadcast while you're talking on it. It's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
Pause the video.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, pause the video.
Maybe one last thing before we try to get somebody. Any other aspects? How about Ford? How about Ford just like chilling out with some of the hosts every once in a while, like sitting and having a drink.
His fucking family and shit is like.
Oh, that's right. He was hiding his
remember?
Family
he was like his cabin full of his robot family, recreated from his youth.
That was kind of weird. And
it was fucked up.
It was interesting that Bernard could never see it either. He could never see the door. Door. Yeah, it's like, what door? Yeah, that was interesting too.
Yeah,
when
he takes
he has to have other sectors too that are off the grid.
Oh yeah.
Probably.
Ford says that they had that conversation many times. He's like, Bernard, this isn't even the first time we've had this conversation. Like, I'm just going to push this button and you're going to forget all this. And we're just going to go back to what it was. But I mean, he's got parameters and Bernard has found a way around them a lot of times, and always comes back to the same, questions about, who he is and is this right? And blah, blah, blah. And what all that stuff. Like, is my son real? Anyways, he gets into that, but they've been through that before. That's what he's hinting at over the last 30 years. Like, he's been through that. And he says in the thing, he's like, he says he doesn't remember certain models or like their history. He said that like there was one scene specifically where he said they were trying to figure out Dolores's father when he was, going off the grid and he was kind of getting crazy because he saw that picture. He asked him, he said, what else has he done? He's like, well, this model was here before I was, but I remember him being a sheriff and I remember him being this and that, but he forgets that he was the professor. He forgets that he was the professor who liked Shakespeare, so like there must be some kind of blocks into how far back he can remember too, or like maybe a created memory of when he was hired on. Are there here's a question I want to ask you guys. Are there any people that we are seeing now that for every, I don't know the word I'm looking for. There's no reason to believe that they aren't hosts that you think that they are.
I mean,
humans that are hosts.
There aren't many humans left, to be honest.
Ford that got shot at the end.
Okay.
You think that was a host?
Yep.
I think somebody in chat said that Nolan confirmed he's dead.
I don't give a fuck what a show's creator
if he signs a contract,
No,
if he signs a big enough
trust
contract,
a show's host
back.
that tells you shit.
No, if you want to know, you just go and look and see if they've been signed on for season 2 and 3.
That's right.
Remember the
they might
Lost
use it in
writer said they had an
flashbacks.
explanation that wasn't magic?
No, so how many humans are there?
Well, okay, so here's the thing. There's the head of security, right?
Okay, yeah, he's still
Uh,
around. Yeah.
The head of security is still
Okay.
around. The guy who does the narratives, the girl that comes in from the company and is trying to sort of sabotage or scheme her way.
Is she dead
getting
after
forward.
that? After
Maybe
that?
I don't know. There are several still human characters, but you're right, there aren't very many. Man in Black, William, I believe he's a human. I mean, that wouldn't make any
Man in
sense.
Black's
but-
dead. There's
I
no-
loved his smile at the end, by the way.
Yeah.
When he gets shot, he's like, "This is great."
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I forgot about that.
He's like, "Shit just got real finally."
Yeah. But what else? I don't know. I think that the head of security, might be a host.
Really? Okay.
I think so. Wouldn't that make sense?
Like all
who-
the security
like-
guys seem like.
Yeah, like think about it. Like if you owned a company and you could make hosts and you had parameters that you could slide them up with intelligence, strength, stamina, all that shit. Why wouldn't you have a quote unquote, like super soldier as your head of security? Why would you hire a human? Like it doesn't make really any sense. You want somebody who you control, who will always report back to you, who you know is going to do a good job, who you know is going to get shit done and be able to perform in every aspect of the job at maximum efficiency.
You could,
Why
yeah.
wouldn't you have a
But then,
host?
I start thinking maybe like the parent company, doesn't trust Ford, so they would want non-controllable hosts,
Yeah, maybe, and that's another thing too. It's like Bernard's a secret, right? And Bernard's like part of the company. Everyone who's working there thinks he's human. Nobody knows that he's even a host.
That's true.
Like
That's true.
if that exists, then it must exist elsewhere, could exist elsewhere. But I think that there is clearly some kind of company policy against having hosts as employees, I would imagine. But I don't know. Who knows, man?
All right,
Again,
we got a caller now, so let me pull in Dark Instinct. Here we go. Dark, you there?
What's up?
Hello, Dark.
Hey.
Hey, welcome to the show, man. You're our first caller.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
for this.
yeah,
not ever.
for this, not ever, not ever, not ever.
We
Hey,
see what we
we
did
haven't
to
had
you.
that many, so he's top 5,
all
something like that. Yeah.
See what we did to you already? We build you up just to break you down.
Yeah.
So that it's called
Tear
balance.
your ass down, dude.
Fitting for the Westworld scenario.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Some kind of emotional, climax, and then everything's just downward from there.
Yeah,
Everything
pretty
is
much.
nothing like you thought, basically.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
yeah, yeah. So, do you have something you had some cool thing to add to the discussion here?
Yeah, I was in the separate channel talking with some of the other guys, and one of the things that I always thought was interesting was like we see William get to the park and we see like guests actually entering, but with the Man in Black, like they kind of fill in some of his character, but they never actually talk about like when he leaves the park, when he gets to the park, or any of the staff knowing the things that he's doing there, because he's trying to find like the center of everything. But they never really address like somebody's watching him in the park looking for this stuff.
Well,
And,
I think they mentioned one part where he was killing a bunch of hosts, right? And I think the woman mentioned it to the head of security, and it was like, "Oh, that guy, he can do whatever he wants because he owns the whole place, right? So he literally can do whatever." And I think Ford knows that he's trying to figure out the puzzle.
Yeah,
he doesn't
they have
care.
That, like,
He's pretty open about it.
Yeah, he doesn't even care, right? So
Yeah, he's
I feel
basically.
like,
I mean,
now that we know what his master plan was, it makes sense that he didn't care what the Planet Back was up to.
Yeah.
there
Because
is
he
even a
knew what the
scene-
maze was. He knew that he was gonna be disappointed. Like the maze was not for him,
And
Yeah.
it was always it's really interesting the way that he interacts with the other hosts and everything. How he's always doing the bad, like trying to be the bad guy of everything, and how he's always there at the right times. But you never really see anybody, any of the other hosts, really like. He must get there from some other way, and I wonder what that would be because he's not riding it on a train, obviously, because then everybody would know he got there. He just
Probably
always
helicopter,
happens to
right?
be there.
I don't think
Yeah.
he ever leaves. I think the guy
No, he
is
lives
there.
and shit. His wife's dead. His child
exactly,
hates him.
exactly.
He does leave because in the first episode he said it's good to be back. You know, that was one of the things when the first thing he did was go to the Dolores's place, kill Teddy, and fuck Dolores, or implied.
Yeah.
He raped
Well, didn't
her.
he just do like a big charity thing, donation or whatever?
Yes, he was a
right.
philanthropist.
Yeah,
He
that
was-
one
he was-
guy.
yeah.
Yeah, that
And then
one guy was
comes
thanking
up and
him.
tries to talk to him
It's my
like a guest.
vacation.
He's
Yeah.
He's like, "This is my
gonna
fucking
kill him.
vacation. Don't talk to me."
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he has to leave and come in. But I agree with you. It is very mysterious, like what that the things he's doing are obviously beyond what normal or normal visitors or people visiting would. I don't know what the fuck they call them. What do they call them?
The
Guests.
guests. or-
Guests.
The newcomers or the
Yeah.
guests.
Oh, the newcomers. Okay.
Yeah. That he definitely is some kind of clearance above it. There's another scene where he requests explosives. So like he does have some limitations.
Oh, right. The
Because he
cigar.
can't.
Mhm.
Yeah, with the cigar, he makes a request, and they're like, "Oh yeah, let him have whatever he wants." So it's not like he just runs around with impunity, but like he does. I believe I'm using that word right. I always get it mixed up. Is impunity?
Oh, yeah, you got it.
You got it.
Okay.
That's right.
He's not running around with impunity, but like he does have a lot more clearance than anybody else, and he can get it anytime he wants it. Basically, I mean,
He funds the thing.
Yeah, he's the major shareholder of it. It'd be like like Richard Gere, not Richard Gere. I guess that's a bad example because it would be a little more like Ford and Richard Gere with Ultima. But
Right.
name any game. There's got to be shareholder or something of that game. If they want to jump in and
They want the God codes. They can have the God codes.
yeah,
is
they can have
basically what
the
you're
God
saying.
codes. But what's the fun in having the God code?
I know.
That's
right?
the thing
Exactly.
too. And you have to take into account that he's been doing this for presumably 30 years. He's got to know some ins and outs about the story and the narrative. He's gotten all the insider information too. I mean, we're not just talking about a dude who read through a Prima guide, right? We're talking about a dude that is like one-on-one contact with the creator. So there's got to be there is some mystery there, but like I don't know is the answer, and I don't know if it's ever going to be explained to us.
Dude, it's like I play a lot of.
Well, he
I play a lot of
did.
Korean. Sorry. I play a lot of Korean MMOs and stuff, and I always said that like it would suck if Kim Jong-un was like really into him because then everyone would make exceptions and shit. Fucking guy floated through and killed everyone and fucking like he was in the sky. Oh, that's Kim Jong-un. He can do whatever.
They'd have to change his avatar to look like a unicorn or something just to make him special.
Yeah.
We would want something majestic that would show the strength of North Korea.
Oh, that's so Kim Jong.
Yes.
He's a chimera. Don't worry about it. He's
Oh,
fine.
They came by, killed us all, assured everyone was fed well, and then left.
I'm getting flashbacks of the interview now. That movie. Oh my
Yeah, but
God.
that is a good question though. Like, what are the stipulations of they really don't get into that. I think they leave it ambiguous on purpose.
My
The
thing would
stipulations
be,
of where you can come.
everyone's trying to figure out like a way to the center of the maze and everything, and it's a lot of questions about like the world itself. But if he's been there for so long and like you never see where he goes or how he gets there, I wonder if he has like his own secret entrance, and what would happen if any of the hosts found out how he's getting there. Like it would be like, because he's not writing it on the train. It's just there's so many other options for what he's doing with that world, how he's getting there, how he's leaving. Does he have his own like bunker built into the world?
Well, I bet if he wanted it, he could. But they do show that the company has ways of getting into the world without
The elevators. Yeah.
And there's elevators pretty much in every section and quadrant. I would imagine that could take you there specifically because they do have to go in sometimes. Where
There's more than one
is,
park that have to move between them too.
Yeah, and where in is this world on top of them, below them? I mean, they
It's on top
elevator
of them.
up.
Yeah.
I know, but like how? Like, are they underground? Like, there's a lot when it comes to that. I mean, maybe they're underground, but when you're outside, you can see like it's almost like a like a view. Like when they're at the company, they're out by the beach. there's like a view there. Is that manufactured as well? Is
Maybe
this
they
all
have like a
underground?
hologram dome or some shit.
Maybe.
Well, I think on the
Yeah.
perimeters is where you see them, able to look into the, like where the pool area is and stuff. But I think the actual main control center and all that is underneath, because they had in the first episode, right? They had all the whole water system and stuff. There was a leak in the water system or whatnot for some of the livestock or whatnot, and so I know there's definitely underneath. I mean, because the elevator too just shows you that they kind of come up and are able to come into it. I don't know how they span that entire thing though. I mean, like again, we were talking about it's miles and miles, so it's like if you had something in another quadrant, do they have like a shuttle
thousands of
train?
acres,
I know,
shit,
like it's not explained that well.
Maybe
but
they have
Well,
teleporters as well.
exactly.
Why
Aaron,
not?
Aaron in the chat has a good point. He says hosts may not even be able to see his elevator or whatever he uses. The company can hide things like that from them. So even if there was, I mean, just like Bernard couldn't see the door, even if there was some alternate route or elevators or anything else, they potentially couldn't even see them, which lends more credibility to the theory that they really don't have sentience, that they are just still programming.
That could leave such a cool little mind twist where if everything's through the point of view of one of the hosts, and then it switches to a point of view of somebody that isn't one of the androids, or
that'd be cool.
Oh, that would be
there was just a
interesting.
door in the center of town the whole time.
Think of the cinematography. Like I would love
would
to
be
see.
funny.
Have you ever watched 500 Days of Summer?
Yes.
Yes.
It's
Okay.
great. It's a great movie.
There's this scene that they do, and it's on one half of the screen, it's reality, and then on the other half of the screen, it says what he envisioned. Like what he envisioned this would be like. So it's like the perception of reality. So he thinks he's going to walk into this place, be this suave guy, get the girl back, blah, 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 blah on this screen. But you're watching the reality of the situation on the left screen. So you're watching them in tandem as he goes up the stairs, as he talks to the people. But in one scene, he's like this suave guy, gets the girl at the end. And like in reality, he's like standing alone in the corner. He's not communicating with anybody. Like he's not really, like if they did something like that for this show where it's like, what the host sees or what what somebody who's a normal person or
that'd be
human
pretty
sees.
interesting.
That would be pretty cool, and I can't
Definitely.
see that being interesting and being pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But
all right,
anyways.
Dark. Well, thanks for adding that to the combo. That was definitely really cool.
Thanks for letting me hang out.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for coming, dude.
All right, take care, man.
Cool, man.
We've
Bye,
got
dude.
another caller, Icon. That let's see what he has to say here. Hey, Icon, you there?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
Hey, what's
going
up,
on, man?
Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
No problem.
So, did you have something to add to our discussion?
I kind of wanted to go somewhere new real quick, just
Okay.
to hit on
Yeah.
a couple of things. I wanted to hear you guys' thoughts on HBO registering Explore Samurai World and Explore Shogunworld.com, as well as the brief samurai appearance in season 1, how that might tie into season 2 at all.
There's definitely going to be other worlds without question. Because
Yeah.
of Michael Crichton, I believe, hinted at it in the short story.
What happens if the rogue AIs, the hosts from Westworld, break out and go to the other
Wait.
fucking worlds?
So, we didn't even think. So, we're thinking about season 2 right now. What if Shogun World is just another show altogether, and then all of a sudden we have like potential crossovers between Westworld and Shogun World? Any potential to that? I mean, is there any potential that could be happening?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a possibility that, this season 1 is Westworld, season 2 is, Samurai World or whatever.
No. We just have like a different show that starts that's called Shogun World or Samurai World. But
And they just
Westworld
give up on
continues.
Westworld?
Yeah, Westworld continues.
Oh,
Just
you think
season
that
2.
they're just gonna have a new,
Yeah,
like a
what if
brand
it's-
new show?
Yeah, what if it's a brand new show?
I mean, I guess they could, and it could all tie in. I've always had this crazy theory of having 2 separate shows, and then as the finale, having them pitted against each other. Like for
Yeah.
instance, like let's say that you were watching through Dexter, right?
Yeah.
Dexter, and then let's say you were watching through Breaking Bad, and then
Yeah.
as the season finale comes up, you realize that Dexter is looking for Heisenberg. Like that kind of thing, and have that kind of crossover. And then you have these 2 fantastic characters you've been watching separately. Not only would it make the people who are fans of Dexter watch fans of Breaking Bad, but also just the complicated little idiosyncrasies between the two. Would be really interesting, and as it builds up, and you wouldn't see it coming. That's like the last true twist, like everything else we've seen. So I don't have a problem with the idea of having like a separate season. How would they do it, or a separate show? I don't know. I think it's more likely that they'll maybe spend some time during a season, like next season, going through some of the events that could have been happening in Samurai World or whatever the hell it's called. But I mean, I don't even know if it doesn't even really talk about whether it's developed or not. We just see those samurai. So my question to Icon is, what were you talking about at the very beginning? Like you said like some kind of website or something?
They registered Shogun World, right?
Yeah, HBO registered Explore Samurai World and Explore Shogun World on last Friday. I can link the Reddit article.
That's what I mean. Like, if you're registering
Yeah, it's in
domains, it's not just a season. Like, it's not. I mean, it'd be weird. Like, let's just say Westworld season 2 like takes place in Shogun World the entire time.
You couldn't really call it Westworld.
Yeah,
man.
it's
Like,
kind of. It's like the branding is all
that's
weird.
definitely Far East World.
Far East.
They also in the first season, when Maeve is trying to find her daughter, and the little Asian guy gives her that piece of paper, it says Park 1. And then it says like zone or whatever,
that's
et cetera, et cetera.
right. I
So it
forgot
also
about
hints
that.
towards having multiple
I
parks.
forgot
In the
about
original
that.
Westworld, the original film, there was 3 parks. There was a medieval, a West, and a Shogun World.
I see.
Well, and there may be implications towards the company and business that tie into that as well. Not that not to say the Chinese are the same as Japanese.
What are you saying,
When
man?
everybody, stop that, ChanManV, stop it. I have to tiptoe very carefully through this, and you're not. Don't make it harder. No. So the thing is that I think that there could be implications business-wise for having separate worlds too. Japanese businessmen or anybody really that's more fascinated in Shogun culture, Bushido, or any of that shit, would be more inclined to maybe get involved than if you don't have an affinity for the West. So this is just thinking outside of. I'm just trying to think of the company's overall goals. If there are more parks, why? We don't know that. We talked about that already, but like. I mean, there could be.
Wouldn't it be funny if the Samurai World, they're already sentient? They're like, you guys are so far behind in the West, man. We're
killed all
so
our
more
humans already.
exactly. We're so much more advanced than you guys already.
Yeah, man, who knows?
Why should it be
knows,
like
man?
Disney World and Disneyland, where they have a park in like Japan or whatever that's Shogun, and then they have like one in London or something that's medieval.
Yeah.
Who knows, man?
could be.
But like,
Yeah.
if you just limit yourself to the West, I mean, that limits the point I was trying to make is it limits you in a business sense. But if you open up your idea to a broader, variety of things, then you're obviously going to have more. It's going to be more money, more clients, more whatever. So having that diversity, I think, makes sense in the world. Bigger picture, I'm not sure. But I mean, I don't know. I have no fucking idea, man. What if they did a separate show? I don't know, man. That'd be crazy.
That'd be awesome. That'd be cool. I think it'd be cool.
You're blowing his mind, man.
Yeah, I know.
Like I said, I've always thought of 2 separate shows and not having. But here's the thing. Here's the only difference is that these would be clearly connected in some way, right? Like you go into it knowing they're connected. I think it'd be more interesting going into it not knowing they're connected.
Of course.
Sure. Like instead of how about this? Instead of having have Westworld, it all takes place in Westworld. It all takes place, around the facility, everything that's going on. And then in a separate show, they focus on everything outside of that. Like they focus on the world itself and how, they just refer to it as the game, the game, has caused this and that and blah, 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 blah. And it's changed this. And you don't know the game that they're referring to is Westworld, and to have that tie in. There's the implications. It's
They could go crazy places with this. I was talking to someone recently about the samurai thing, and they said, watch season 2 be they deploy the samurais to take over the rogue host from season 1.
Oh,
Like, oh man.
wait. Do what now?
I was talking to a guy recently about this theory about the samurai world and whatnot, and how they show it in season 1. And at the end of season 1, how they kind of start rebelling or whatever. He said we came to the conclusion that it would be funny if they released the samurai hosts to take out the
where they
rogue
programmed
hosts
them
in Westworld.
They programmed them to go and kill the Westworld.
And the first part of the
Hosts.
season was like a host on host like world within Westworld, and the humans trying to get out to kind of like, oh no, it's crazy war shit. Let's go back to West Samurai World or whatever.
The safety of Samurai World, where the kill.
So we're literally going to get ninjas versus pirates. Like, we are actually going to see cowboys versus samurais versus ninjas versus.
That'd be crazy. Yeah, season 2 could be all about taking over, taking back Westworld from the sentient hosts and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I could go that direction. Now I'm starting to think like, what about like the discount worlds? Like we're just seeing the rich people's world, right?
Discount worlds.
What's the discount? What's like the discount poor man's world?
I don't know. What would it be?
Get a raise at your job world.
Exactly. It'd be real life. It'd be just the real world.
It's just straight VR, man.
The real world. That's what
No, man,
world.
it's Walmart world.
Slightly
you just
hotter
go
white
into
world.
a slightly hotter wife world.
Oh, that's terrible.
You didn't
That's
have
terrible.
Dude, no kids for a while world.
Yeah. You didn't have those 4 kids world. You know, like where you go to forget you have children.
Just take the kids to babysitter world.
Yeah, but fucking bad rats world. No, but like the implication, like this is the theme park for the rich people. Is there one for?
It's 40K a day to do Westworld.
Yeah, 40K.
It's fucked up, man.
They give the lower classes the medieval world and just give them a bunch of swords and say, "Have at it."
Yeah, who knows, man?
Probably.
It's like, all right, Cora, enjoy yourself for 3 hours. go have fun, enjoy your vacation, your 3-hour vacation. 40K an hour, you fucking absurd.
Exactly.
Anyways, that's a lot to think about.
Yeah, definitely.
Good.
All right, Icon.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting us know about that. Definitely hope.
Appreciate your time, guys.
I'm definitely hoping it's a new show because more shows the better.
I agree. Well, hopefully you guys have a good night, and I appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Have a good one, dude.
Bye.
Okay, I think we might have one more, but he hasn't responded. He was in line, but let's just see if he's there. If he's not, then we'll call it. Bad boy, are you there?
Hello.
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 How are you? Welcome to the show.
So, bad boy, what you gonna do?
What you gonna do when it come for you?
I was gonna be like, are you really a bad person, or is this just a username? Like, what do we
Doesn't get chicks, man. They love bad boy.
Yeah.
That's right.
No, the name actually came from my dad. He wanted to name me when I was like, on the BBS boards and whatnot. He called me Little Boy when I was a kid, and I was like, no, can't have.
Thought you what when you were a kid?
A good boy. Good boy.
Oh, good boy. Okay, gotcha. Oh.
No, he wanted to call me Little Boy.
Oh, little boy.
Little
Little
boy.
boy. Oh.
Yes. Because I was like 6 years old, like, on the BBS boards back in the 90s, like, typing up stuff. And he's like, no, I'm going to be bad boy. So I've been stuck with that ever since.
So like your like
2001
6-year-old self is still carrying, or you're like, how old are you now? If you don't mind me asking.
I am 34.
Okay.
Dude, you're like 30. You're still holding the mantle of a username from your 6-year-old self. That is insane. That is crazy. That's history,
cool.
man.
There's
That's
nothing wrong with that.
I've always been interested in the usernames of people and like how they developed them, how long they've had them, and stuff like that.
Dude, I had that
That's like,
ChanManV forever, man.
Yeah, I've had this the 2001 came a long time ago, but I'd say I've had it for at least 20 years.
God, that's crazy. Yeah, you can't have little boy. You like, Dad, I'm gonna go on the AOL forums, the AOL chat. I'm gonna get on AIM. My name's gonna be Vulnerable Little Boy.
No child predators or anything, but yeah.
So what's up, man? What do you want to talk about?
So, two things. One, we were talking about the implications of season 2 and what that brings. For Westworld, we were thinking about how they were showing off like Samurai World and the possibility of medieval world, because apparently there were several worlds involved in Westworld storyline. Mm-hmm. So now we're wondering, does that mean that season 2 could possibly be like, Samurai World with like same characters? Notice how they have like shows like American Horror Story where they have the same characters, but they're all in a different setting. I'm wondering if that could be implications for how they're going to do.
You know what's funny is we literally just talked about this with the caller right before you. Like,
yeah, I know. We were talking about that. And
oh, you
then
guys. Okay.
We went further into it. We were thinking, what if, and this is like a crazy, like impossible situation, if Game of Thrones was actually medieval world?
What? There's no
Game
way.
come on, that would be pretty hilarious.
That's too
though.
meta.
That would be
the biggest
hilarious.
mind blow
though.
if like
Holy crap,
HBO decided to reveal that.
that would be funny.
I'm sure
dude.
J.R.R. Martin would be just fine with them
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
folding his
Oh,
work
thanks
into
for
someone
shitting
else's
on over.
property.
Yeah. Decades of my work, you just shat all over it. Thanks, guys.
Well, they'd be like, well, you should have written faster, I guess, huh?
You know
Oh,
what?
damn,
You know what?
damn.
You know what though? You know what though? George R. R. Martin fucking would deserve it too.
Yes, he
Like,
would.
oh, you like twists and you like killing off important people. You like hurting your viewers, huh? Well, guess what? Your work is just a part of a much larger work. And that's your twist,
At
sir.
the very least, it'll motivate him to keep staying alive, right?
He'd
And
be like,
keep
well,
writing stuff.
Do the robots have lesbian sex? And they'd be like, yes. And he'd be like, all right, you can continue that.
Yeah, I mean that's absurd. But I like to
Yeah.
think about it. It's a funny thought, you know, but I mean, I
Now
don't think we can put any real
That
salt
would
in
be-
it.
That would be
Actually, going back to the
crazy.
Westworld show itself, the main question I had was actually about Ford itself. The thing that no one ever really questions is how Ford is able to actually control all of the hosts without any verbal commands or anything at all.
That's
And
true.
that makes me believe that he is possibly not actually physically there as they think he is. Like the Ford that we see, the actor Anthony Hopkins, I'm beginning to wonder whether or not if
He's a host,
actually-
basically
If
like a
he's
master
actually
host.
the man behind
basically.
the curtain in
Yeah.
a big control panel somewhere.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
that makes a
yeah.
lot of sense actually. So while he's watching his host body interact, you know, to the capacity that he would interact with somebody, he's also sitting, the real him is sitting at a control panel somewhere causing dust storms or, you know, doing this or manipulating the code in some way. That makes a lot of
or
sense.
just
'Cause
I mean,
causing
it-
all
It's
the
either
one area.
it's either that or he just has a backdoor, just verbal commands that only he knows.
I think
Well,
it
that's
makes
the thing. He didn't say any verbal commands when he paused all of those hosts at once while he was at dinner with Teresa.
yeah, he
He didn't say
Oh,
anything.
true. That's true.
yeah,
Yeah, he
there's
didn't say
a lot of
anything
They
there.
just all stopped.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I'm
and
like,
that-
how does? And there was like hosts way off in the distance that couldn't hear him.
yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
how is that possible?
He's probably
Dude, I think you're onto something, honestly.
You have to go back
Yeah.
and like maybe check his hands to see if both of his hands were on the table. Like maybe he has,
Or he
like,
put a
something in his
trigger word
pocket.
and like stop like 1 minute after I say this trigger word or whatever.
That could be, yeah, yeah.
It
Yeah,
could.
but how?
But then they don't even have to know how the
people way across
conversation
the
goes.
field to hear. I mean,
Yeah.
they have robot super hearing, but
They have Wi-Fi in their heads.
Yeah, they get
I
Yeah,
like-
Wi-Fi in
from
there.
host
I
to
like-
host.
I
Surrey.
like how she would be at the table. She would be at the table with him, like, "We're gonna take over your company." He's like, "But would you like a banana?" And then like everything stops. And she's like, "What?" I'm like, "What? I don't know. I don't want a banana."
Did you really just do that just to prove that you can stop all these machines from working?
Yeah.
Really?
No,
He'd
I
be
think
like,
well,
He's like, look at my power, see? And she was like, you just said banana really obviously, like earlier. So. And it was
It's
weird. the
always
way
What's
he said it.
happening? What's happening?
it's always banana though. It's never like another trigger word. He just keeps bringing it up. And they're like, "Man, he must really like bananas, man." What's this thing with bananas? No, I think
Oh,
actually
God.
I think you're onto something. I didn't even think about that in that
Yeah.
terms.
It's
I
true.
did think that having himself as a host was possible, and I didn't really explore the implications of that. But I think it makes a lot of sense actually to have himself, a host of himself that he's created that goes inside and does all the things that he does, and he actually sits with his real person at the back. It would make a lot of sense because it never made sense to me how he had such control over the world, you know. And you know, I think technology can only take you so far, you know. At what point is he not saying anything but everything just listens to everything that he's saying? Like, it's
Yeah.
super weird. It seems above and beyond, which is probably exactly what he wants you to think, or wants the people in there to think. It's an illusion, right? It's the
Exactly.
Wizard of Oz thing. I think that has a lot of merit to it, and I think you might be onto something. I like it.
And that also explains quite a bit as far as how she was able to shoot him. I mean, I think the fact that he shows that everything that he has is some kind of design, some kind of something he's set in motion and planned. And I'm thinking most likely that basically everything that's being shown and how everything's ran is just basically one big theater there.
Yeah, I mean that's typically what it is. I mean, he's the puppet master, right? You know, I mean, when it comes down to it, that's basically what he is a puppet master.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. I mean, I think that's probably what's happening. If I have to, you know, if I have to...
I mean, I think a lot of people are like wondering, you know, what when we saw his secret lab where he was like, you know, making hosts inside there was one that was actually currently in construction as he had Bernard, you know, kill Teresa. How do we know that he doesn't have many others out?
Well, that's what I was saying. Like with the head of security guy, you know, he could be a host, and it would make a lot of sense why he would be a host. You know, you would want somebody you would control. You would want somebody who could perform at, you know, superhuman levels. You would want somebody who doesn't get tired, or, you know, all that shit. You know, like
we have the question.
I think that he does. I think he does have many hosts out there, probably.
We'll definitely be questioning any human that shows up in the show from here on out, whether they're hosts.
Yeah, I know,
or not.
right?
Yeah,
I know. Now it's like you question everyone. It's like, is this person actually real?
Exactly.
And now that's a good thing. Working also brought something up. As far as one of the questions I had about the rogue robots, the ones that they just like touched upon, they said they were at the center of the park and never said anything else about them at that point.
Well, I don't even recall that.
Well,
what
they're the
was the
ones
scene?
that Teddy and the Man in Black ran into. Ones that like said, "You're not ready yet, Teddy." Like they stabbed him, sent him on his way. Those robots, like, what exactly is going on with them? They just touched upon them and said, "Oh, yeah, but let's go over here and see what they're doing."
Huh. I don't know. I barely recall that. I mean, it has been some months since I've seen those episodes. So maybe I should have brushed up a little closer. But I don't recall that at all. So I don't really have an opinion. Do either of you guys got an opinion? Wyatt's Army? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's when he was.
Yeah, that's Wyatt's Army.
Yeah, it's Wyatt's Army.
But Wyatt ends up being Dolores.
Yeah, exactly.
So is it Dolores' army?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that plays out. Yeah, I'm not sure why they said that to him.
Yeah,
unless it was Dolores saying that to him, but why isn't he ready? I'm not. Yeah, not clear on that.
Yeah,
one.
that's the only thing that had me wondering, like, what was going on with those particular rogue robots? There's nothing there after that.
Right.
It's like, I know that they had a bunch of robots walking out of the forest, and one that shot the Man in Black in the arm, and that was it.
That was Clementine. Clementine shot him.
Yeah, and that's the part that made me a little curious as well. How did they get her back online?
Well, I mean, he just put all of them back online and turned off the protection restriction parameter, right? So I think Ford just reactivated all of them. There's probably
I really wanted to see all those stupid rich guests get it. I really did.
Yeah.
And that right there alone is also something. I mean, he was able to control them from so far away without any, voice commands or anything like that. It just makes me
definitely
wonder
some
if he's
backdoors.
just like one big puppet master.
Yeah.
Well, you got to think, like, if they're going to wage war, right? Or if Ford wants them to wage war or to stand up for themselves as their own race or whatever, you have to assume that he created assets for them, right? There has to be an army. There has to be, I mean, they've got to have ways to achieve that goal, right? So resources, stuff like that. I don't think Ford would have just said, all right, you guys can make your own destiny now, and like not give them some kind of advantage, so maybe these are hosts that he's kept ready for this moment. Maybe they're maybe even the hosts that they keep in that one big room, where they're all just standing there naked pretty much. Maybe they're ready, to be activated and be used and everything. And maybe that was part of the grand scheme of things. So again, I mean, we won't know until season 2,
Yeah.
and maybe we won't even know then. But we can speculate. I think that there is probably a lot of resources, a lot of hosts that are there to help with the uprising that Ford probably manufactured purposely for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing that kind of supports that theory that he may actually be elsewhere is when the Man in Black was talking about the story behind Arnold and how he was supposed to, like, you know, create the key to eternal life, and then he went on and died. And I'm wondering if basically what Ford did is he took Arnold's, I guess, abilities in order to become immortal and stole that from him. In other words, he's putting his mind into, like, you know, more bodies and stuff like that, keeping himself alive.
Now we're getting into Black
Yeah,
Mirror. talk.
exactly. Yeah.
Now my mind is truly blown. I mean, yes, I guess. I
Yeah,
guess
it definitely could be.
possible.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything in my mind that's going no, and this is why. You know, I mean, it's definitely possible. I don't know, man. We're just gonna have to wait.
Yeah, exactly.
'Cause there's
I know,
there's nothing
exactly.
more really to say about it. Like, I agree that could be a theory, and it makes sense to me. I think that maybe, you know, like I said, that he left assets for them. I think that maybe the people in that one big room, all the naked people, I think that's maybe for the more outward takeover. And I think that maybe the rogue people are more for the inward Westworld takeover, you know, because they're two separate places, you know, so you have to have soldiers in both.
I guess the only thing I'll say is that, you know, I hope that he's still alive, because I definitely do like the aspect of a puppet master. You know, there's still this outer control, and there's this conflict, right, with trying to break free of the control. Because I think if he's just completely removed, which we should be led to the point. I mean, we're all speculating, but the reality is right now he's dead. Okay, so if he does continue on with him being dead, or at least you know he isn't alive, then you know this kind of wild and natural kind of progression, I don't feel will be as interesting of a construct as having him, you know, consistently, you know, being that controlling aspect. I did love that part of this season. So I will miss that if that's going to be gone completely. Hopefully it won't be.
I still like the idea that he's alive.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody is speculating.
It just
exactly.
seems it's all too surreal. The fact that, you know, after all this buildup, he's just gonna off himself after knowing fully well that this person is a completely manipulative mastermind, and he just offs himself at the end. It just doesn't seem.
Yeah, I don't even think so.
Yeah, it just doesn't. It just seems so out of character that it just, like, makes me think,
Yeah.
this seems like a guy that would have a backup plan even if he died.
Right. All right.
I don't
All
know.
right,
Like,
yeah.
God damn it, man.
All right.
Yeah, I'm just gonna slink down here.
Exactly.
Now I've got a lot to think about, so just leave me alone.
But all right, Bad Boy. Thanks for adding that. We're kind of running
thanks,
over,
man.
so we're gonna have to wrap up here. But appreciate you calling in, man.
No problem.
All right,
Have a
thanks,
good
man.
one.
Yeah. Okay, guys.
One thing. Wait. One thing before we go. We didn't cover one important thing.
Okay, real
I was
quick.
reading this on the subreddit right here. I didn't. What's with Asians getting yelled at on Westworld? I didn't want to raise this up because it's a good show, but this is now the third time a bumbling Asian got yelled at by a superior who was white. 3 times. The first was
Don't
the
worry.
Asian woman designing a host. The second was the autopsy guy, and now one who gets lit up by Ford. Could they yell at someone else for a change? And that's from Asian Identity, AZN on subreddit.
Don't
Oh,
worry.
actually,
Samurai
hold on.
World is coming, okay? So the Asians will get their revenge. Don't worry. They'll be slicing up people next season.
ChanManV, I'm gonna ask you to take this one for no reason.
That's for no reason. Oh, man. No, next season, Asians will get revenge. Don't worry. They won't just be yelling out at the white people. They'll be slicing them up, too.
Hold on. Or season 2 is just a bunch of white guys yelling at at samurais like the whole
Oh
season.
god, that'd be
Like, run this way, go do this.
Oh jeez.
That guy, I want to see how triggered that guy gets in season 2.
That's
keeps
right.
going.
Exactly. That guy's gonna be quiet. It's gonna be radio silence the entire time on the subreddit. All right.
You know, like Mr. Wito says that like that must be a troll, but there's like
No,
listen,
you'd be surprised,
remember-
man. You'd be
Remember
surprised.
Kubo and the Two Strings?
Yep, I remember.
Remember how like people were mad that they like whitewashed the voices, the what could be, you know, Asian voice actors and stuff.
What,
Like,
wait, Matthew McConaughey doesn't sound Asian? I mean, what the hell? You know.
I thought it was Stephen Colbert.
all right. Yeah, exactly. But all right, let's talk about next week.
Okay.
So for those of you who never, watched the show, we always talk about what the homework assignment is this week so that you guys can join in next week and be ready to go. So next week is Rogue One. Some people were asking in chat earlier what we're going to do. Of course, Rogue One, the Star Wars movie that came out. I think it's today, right? It actually came out in theaters today.
Tonight.
Yeah. Go. So go check it out this week if you can. Maybe catch a show this weekend. Kind of hard probably at this point. I think a lot of the tickets are probably sold, but catch a matinee and then.
I'm gonna try to get a matinee in there. Yeah.
Yeah. We're going on Saturday, just the family. So that should be a lot of fun. Trying my best not to be spoiled by anything in the next 2 days. That might be kind of hard. So not checking out websites that I would normally check out. But hopefully I can hold out for a day and a half. I think it'll be cool. What do you guys think?
We understand when we pick things to review, we do take into account availability.
Yeah.
But this one doesn't have the best availability for you guys. I know that it's hard for some of you guys for this week to go and watch Rogue One. We recognize that, but at the same time, we recognize that it's Star Wars and it's something that
a lot of you already had your tickets bought as soon as they went live or something like that.
Yeah, and you know, it's a pretty important part of our culture, especially entertainment. So it's kind of like I don't know how to describe it. I feel like we shouldn't miss it if a Star Wars thing comes up, even if it is a little bit more difficult for people to get their hands on it. And you know, next week we'll have a brand new thing, which will probably be on Netflix or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we don't do movies that often. Maybe we've done it two times. I think Doctor Strange and Kubo.
Yeah,
those are the only 2 times. I think those are the only 2 times. Yeah, so
The Killing Joke was a movie technically.
Kind
It was,
but it
yeah.
was that's already been released on DVD.
Yeah,
or
we've stuck
Blu-ray.
to shows
Yeah.
for the most part.
For the most
we've
part,
been doing
yeah.
seasons of shows, but
Yeah.
so we don't do movies often. So this is one that we are doing, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm gonna be seeing it probably
I'm excited.
next week.
Yeah.
I might have to just sneak in. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Sneak
I don't have my
in?
tickets.
Oh man,
I don't
don't
have
stop.
my tickets, so you're making me worried that I might not be able to get in there.
It's the classic. Go buy a ticket for another movie and then stay in the theater for the or stay in the theater section area for.
I have not done that in like I don't know, like since I was like 16 or 15.
Right, exactly.
But I'm thinking I might have to go back to my high school roots on this one if it gets too hard to get a ticket. So I guess we'll have to see.
All right. Well, hopefully you guys will tune in for that. And why don't we wrap up the show? Bikeman, it was awesome having you on
Thank
today,
you for
buddy.
having me.
It was funny. Hopefully this is better than Luke Cage for you. Fucking Westworld.
It was more interesting.
Yeah. Got any shout outs you want to do? Where can people find you?
I stream under Bikeman. I don't really like to do shout outs. Continue.
Okay. All right. Diction.
Go to Bikeman.
Go to Bikeman.
Twitch.tv/Bikeman.
It's Bikeman stream, right? Anyways.
That's
Diction.
on Twitter.
Okay. Diction.
I'm eByDiction. You can find me at twitch.tv/eByDiction1.
Yes.
That's all I got.
Hello.
This is if you're here, then and you want to see more of me, then just hit that follow button.
Hit that.
You get. Yeah, tomorrow morning I'm gonna be streaming about 4 a.m. I don't know what I'm streaming yet. I've just been kind of winging it lately. This last week, I took the last couple of days off because there's some Christmas stuff and whatever. But I had a family Christmas party and all that good stuff. But for the most part, I've been back streaming. For those of you who don't know, if you're jumping in, you're like, hey, hello, I haven't seen you in a long time. I've been streaming for like the last week now, plus pretty consistently. I've been playing a lot of Path of Exile. Been playing I did a little Overwatch the other morning, Dead by Daylight. I've been switching up a lot. Watch Dogs 2 hacking, which is incredibly fun. So tomorrow morning is going to be something. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to be here at 4 a.m. You can count on it as long as I'm not like in the hospital or something. So,
All right, awesome.
yeah.
And I'll round things out by thanking the three of you guys for doing the show today with me and everybody for watching. You can find the VODs for this show as well as the other shows I do on youtube.com/ChanManV. And VikingBot just spammed all of our channels, so you can find us there. But until next week, for Bikeman, Eat My Addiction, Ellohime, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next week. Rogue One.
Easy.
Get ready. Rogue One. Be ready for
I was blowing a kiss. I do it every time. It's my trademark. It's my this is me blowing a kiss.